All right, welcome to the Rocket Launcher podcast. This is episode 121. It's kind of crazy to just say we have that many episodes, just kind of every week, right? But even when we skip some of them, it just seems like, man, is it really over 100? But yes, 121 episode. I am your host, Supreme King. Join with me as always is my co-host, and his name is.
It's your guy Omezis.
All right, let me address one thing real quick. The footage you see on the screen, yes, it is Belantro, the brand new. Well, it's not brand new. It was one of the Game of the Year contenders. But my footage is slightly cut off, if you can tell. I almost scrapped it, but I was like, you know what? Everybody can still see all the cards technically, so I'll just use it for right now. And I fixed my settings going forward, but this was on the actual computer with the 4090, and it was supposed to just capture full screen, but it looks like it may have captured it with 1080p settings, but it was actually blown up past that, so it kind of cut off a part of it. But you can still kind of see the card game and the battle, and so I had wanted to just play it real quick for this particular episode, because this is mainly going to be about the Game of the Awards, which I think we're actually going to get to last, and we're going to like blow through as much of everything else in the beginning because I think that's going to take the longest. But
Just
that's
gonna say one thing,
go ahead.
man. It's a nominee, but it ain't the winner.
Okay. I
I'm
never
proud
thought
about
this
this,
was
man.
you
I
proud
said it.
about
I
it.
called it.
I mean, we'll talk.
I don't remember when I said it, but I said it.
All right, he's a little too excited about it, so I'm probably gonna have to bury the game a little bit. But it's okay. We'll get to that point later. But the first thing I actually wanted to mention was the Latin American Game Showcase, which happened like the day or two before. And I'm not sure how many people would have caught it, but it was a pretty decent show that had a lot of game world premieres on its show in itself. Did you watch this show?
No, because I didn't have any time this week.
He ain't watched the show. Later. He ain't watched the show, y'all. He don't care about the people out there. He canceled amongst this community, but it's okay.
I watched it too. Because I knew that they would have a lot of games. That was like the other like Latin American show over the summer, where it was like the best one. Yeah. So I figured it would have a lot to announce. I just didn't have time this week to give it its proper respect. So I figured I'd have to wait on it.
People. I don't know what to say. Anyways,
I'm looking at the list right now.
I watched a lot. Yeah. They had actually. So with the Jeff Keighley show, the Game Awards that we'll talk about just a little bit later, that one had a lot of the AAA like game world premieres, where this show did a lot more of the smaller ones, the AA's, the indie games. And so almost every indie game was kind of put on this show. And there was still a lot of stuff that I didn't write down. I just put down the stuff that I'm wishlisting and the stuff that I thought was interesting. But there was no actual awards on this show. They were just celebrating game titles made from Latin American game developers, I believe. But the very, very first game that they did show that I thought was pretty cool was called Skydust. And it's more of a flashy hack and slash type of game. Is right up my alley. But it had like more of a, Cyberpunk 2077 type feel to it. Very, very, very first thing that they showed. I think this game or this show was somewhat around an hour, possibly an hour and a half, but it didn't really feel that way. They broke it up into genres. It was just like, here's your action stuff, here's your horror stuff, here's some like little role-playing stuff as well in different sections. Almost everything here had demos. So you could probably find the demo on Steam for a lot of these games, which I thought was very good. And it was a very nice paced show for what it was. I will say a lot of it is PC focused, Xbox focused. I didn't really see them cater towards Nintendo and PlayStation hardly at all. But majority of the stuff you would probably see is stuff you would probably play on the Steam Deck anyway. But yeah, Skydust was the first game that I saw. The second one that I wrote down was called Bloodless. This looked more like a samurai game that was like more black and white. Pretty cool looking game. Pretty cool looking game. Still more 2D focused, and that's another one I want people probably to check out. Next game that I wrote down actually was called Mark of the Deep. Very interesting title because it looked like a carbon copy of Hades almost. But if anybody's into that, here's another game for you. And then Sin Squad. This was more Sin Squad Stealth Assassins. If you are someone who complained about there being a lack of hardcore violence with blood and guts and all of that, they got you in this game because they were very graphic with this one. All type of like stabs to the heart and stuff was like very, very graphic, and it's just blood splattering everywhere, thick gushy blood everywhere. Very gory game. So people who want that, here you go. They had another game that was called The Last Grape. I thought it was kind of funny because it was literally a grape. And the grape had like this arrow and it's like shooting stuff and jumping and going. Um, and it's like or a bow and arrow, and it's still more 2D. Almost everything here was 2D except for the last thing that I wrote down. But yeah, The Last Grape. It was it was a grape, and he had like a little not a flower but a leaf on his head. It's like
The
almost like if it was his
description
hair.
says The
Yeah.
Last Grape is a game about fruits, vegetables, and vengeance.
Yeah, silly. The very last thing that I wrote down, or actually second to last, was called Don't Kill Rumble, which it looked like a game that could replace Knockout City for a lot of people. Knockout City is only not available on console, right? Is that my understanding?
Yeah,
I forgot how they did it.
and like people have their own servers for it.
Yeah, so this was kind of like that. It almost looked like it was like an open world game where you just had this ball, you just throw it at people all day. It didn't seem like I don't know. It wasn't really showing how it was like a game, but it just looked like a bunch of people jumping around throwing balls at each other. So if you're into that, this is another game for you. And then the last game that I saw that they wrote or saw that they showed was called The War on Chiapas. Um, this one I think was the very last game that they showed. It was a strong open and strong close. That one is still more of your 2D action type game. And it was very cool looking, and it was like almost like I don't know if I say mafia-ish style, but kind of like that, but just like more 2D. And so this show did not last too long to me. It was pretty straightforward. Typically when I watch these shows, I like to split them up on different screens and just watch. But I actually just watched this show from start to finish, and I didn't really feel like it took too much of my time. Good pace. I actually just said it was a 7 out of 10. There's a lot of stuff there. I do recommend people sit down with this show, find it online, and watch it in its entirety. So the Latin American Game Showcase does have their own YouTube channel now. I think IGN streamed their show, but I watched it directly from the source and subscribed to their channel because I liked their summer showcase from before, and I like this one as well. 2 shows a year from them is actually pretty cool for me. I don't have any problem with that. It came out of nowhere. They kind of tagged along the Game Awards and had a lot of their logos on there. So I don't know if it was sponsored by them or something, but they just sort of had their show and then just kind of threw it all out there, right? For me, 7 out of 10. Wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad either. And there was a lot of cool new titles. Definitely Rogue Ally and Steam Deck material games. So definitely check that out. And I can move forward. The very next thing I actually do want to talk about, just real quick, I just want to shed light on the company that will never stop uh, making emulation handhelds. And so the company Anbernic, everybody knows Anbernic by now if you've listened to this channel for a while, because I talk about a lot of their devices. Well, their next new device that they've announced 1 month later is now the same device that they've been having this entire time. They just changed the shape of it, but it's called the RG34XX. If anybody looks at it immediately, you would notice that it's almost a carbon copy clone of the Game Boy Advance, the actual Game Boy Advance model. They had the SP model that was out this summer. That was a very hot model for them. And so now, right before Christmas, they're releasing this model. And I don't know how good their sales are, but I had to really think about it. It's like if you had a game studio release a game at $60 or $70, they're getting, whatever money they get as a studio. And I think Anbernic is probably getting the same type of money, but they're getting it a lot faster because they're releasing these type of systems every month and charging the $60-$70, every month. And each month now it's a different one. And they're kind of just coming out with them. I don't know. I would imagine next month there's going to be a whole nother one. But this time they're going to pull out some heartstrings again and give you the Game Boy Advance. I did like that this is coming with a lot of different colors. Some of them do have the translucent colors. I really liked the green one and the red one that I saw. But it looks exactly like a Game Boy Advance. However, unlike the vertical one that was released, the couple vertical ones that was released, it does not have a joystick on it. This particular model will just play your regular games with no joystick support. So keep that in mind in case you still want to buy one of these devices. The vertical one has the joystick, which will allow you to play, like the N64, Dreamcast, and some other systems. But yeah, any thoughts on this device? I think I showed you a couple of pictures at one point.
It's cool that they're trying to release all the old school designs. Like I can imagine for that collector having like the entire library of that like system on a replica of that system is probably really cool. Right, if they're not putting everything on one device, if it's just like the Game Boy Advance plays the Game Boy Advance games, the Game Boy Color plays the Game Boy Color games, and things like that. I think that's really cool. I probably not gonna get it because I only need the one device. But for a collector, it's pretty awesome.
Do you think I'm accurate? You think I'm accurate in saying that there might be generating the type of money a regular game studio would make?
Yeah, because also, like you said, there's like that time in between, right? Where a game studio they can make a bunch of money, but they're not releasing games monthly, right? So they're
releasing a game nowadays is like every 4 years, every 5 years.
Yeah. So if we compare the amount of money this company is probably making over 4 years, because I imagine maybe some people are only buying one, some people are probably waiting for a specific design, and then like I said, there's the collectors that want each one, and clearly they're making money if they're able to keep making these each month at 60. They got to be making some kind of income, otherwise they're wasting money on parts. So yeah, I would say they're probably making a good amount. Maybe not your like Hogwarts Legacy money, but like another cool game, like I'm sure they're up there.
It seems like it reminds me of like PlayStation doing the $10 upgrades, buy the disk drive, buy the stand type energy. It's like I think they're probably getting the same money from the same people in a way. I'm not sure if they're expanding. I think it's just the because I've seen some of the group pages that support these devices, and people like to take pictures where they've got a whole row of them. And so I think a lot of people are probably just rebuying it. At one point, I did have 3 devices. I gave one away to someone on their birthday, and I was thinking about getting another one. Just in my reason was because I had some issues with like the controls and reconfiguring the controls when I tried to dock the other one when I recorded some gameplay footage directly off of the vertical one. And so I was like, well, if I could have one that's like dedicated to the TV and the other one is just like handheld, I don't have to run into that issue anymore because it took me like a while to fix at one point, and the device was almost a brick until I fixed the controls. And so, I will say I am personally waiting for them to create a device that can handle 3DS and DS, and it has a clamshell 2 screen type device. I don't know whenever they're going to get to that type of device, but when they make that version, I want to get it and have only the full library of 3DS and DS on it. That's a specific thing that I'm waiting for. I don't know when they will get around to it. I figure they would. Right now, they're just spamming this same version in a different like size and cutout, I guess, each time. And I think they're just I don't know how many more devices they can make under this set, because once you do the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy SP and Game Boy Color, it kind of is time for them to move on. But I can only imagine they're going to continue a little bit in this chipset, and then we'll finally see them do something else. But at this point, for a lot of people, it could be overwhelming if you're just trying to just get in there, because you still have to remember, no matter which one of these you get, you are still responsible for going out there and doing the work to get the games that you want in the shark infested world where Nintendo is like swimming around waiting to devour you, basically. So any ideas of what the device is going to look like next month?
No. My guess is that they might release more colorways of current ones, because again, like you just said, and that was going to be my point, is they probably got to run out of the chipset first and get the programming right for the 3DS. Especially if they don't go by just the design and actually want it to look 3D.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have some more hardware that they got to figure out first before they start selling it. So I imagine, using up the remainder of this stuff just for some colors.
Like PSP and PS Vita is still more of it's one screen, right? So I feel like that in itself can be satisfied with just taking an SD card and putting it in a Steam Deck and running an emulator, right? But when it comes down to specific the 2 screen layout, I don't think anybody has done that yet. That seems to be the one area that has been avoided. And I don't know how long it would take for them to do that, but I don't think that is that hard. If they're coming out with these devices like this, and these devices run DS, because the other device runs DS, but it has like a 1 screen thing, and you have to manipulate the screen. 1 minute you can see this screen, 1 minute you can see that screen. And maybe people don't want to play that type of game that way. But once they get to that point, I will hop on it, as long as it's not like too egregious. But I do think they're probably going to do one system a month until we start to see a slowdown. And then I think once you see the slowdown, then you would jump back to maybe once every 3 months or something. And then I don't know, maybe they'll fade away. But the only other thing I would want to mention, the competitor of theirs, Mayu Mini, has just start sending out like this beta or alpha build of their version of the Mayu Mini Flip. They're not really just spamming devices every month. They kind of just work on one, and then when that's ready, they bring it out. And I don't know what all they're doing to it, but it looks just like the flip version of the Anbernic device, but it actually does have two Joy Cons on it, or joysticks. And so the joysticks, I ain't gonna hold you up. It does make it look a little ugly, but I don't know if they're working on it to have like a certain level of power as well with the two joysticks. Because once you have two joysticks, it's like maybe it might play like PS2 or something. But their approach is we'll put out one quality device and you hang with that device for at least a year to two. And then we put out another one. Where Anbernic is just like here, boom, 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 boom. And it can be overwhelming. You don't know, what you need, or do you have what you need? But yeah, I'm just waiting for the 3DS DS model, but I just want to mention that. And yeah, we can move forward. Do you think at all that if they make another device that's appealing enough, but it still plays the same stuff that you're playing right now, that you would get it?
Probably not, because I like the design of what I got.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, like I said, it already plays everything that I need to play. If they release something that like I can now get the whole 3DS library and it actually like works,
Mm-hmm.
I consider it. But I don't know, that one's tough for me because I have a 3DS. It's just the issue is I can't get all the games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also kind of have the games that I want like on it already. So I don't know. It would take a lot for me to probably get another one.
Yeah. I just wonder because there are other systems that they have that they priced it at like 150. That's supposed to play PS2 and GameCube, and I don't touch that at all. I feel like once we got to that point, then I'm using a regular handheld that has no limitations on power whatsoever, right? But to each his own. I think at some point, this is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll wrap it up because Xbox, somewhere in the Game Awards show that we'll talk about in a second, they're still running their ad where they're saying everything is an Xbox. I think what we see with Anbernic is kind of a preview of what Xbox wants, because it seems like no matter what you're playing, you're going to play the same stuff, and no matter where you're playing it, you call it an Xbox even if it's not. That seems to be the the brainwashing thing that they're doing. And Anbernic is already there. It's like no matter what, it's like nobody calls it this is an Anbernic. It's just like you might just say this is my Game Boy Advance or something, but it's not a Game Boy Advance. It's better, or it's blah 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 blah. I think that's the direction Xbox wants to go. But we'll see. We'll see. I can move forward. The next thing I want to talk about real quick, a quick thing I wanted to mention about retro achievements, and more specifically mine. So I was playing a game that I actually officially about to just drop, because I kind of done, and it was Yu-Gi-Oh! The World Tournament Edition, Stairway to the Duel. I think that's what it's called. Long name. It's on the Game Boy Advance, but came out in 2004. Somebody can probably Google that and it'll come up with what it is. But the cool thing is, like, when you play on these devices and stuff and you log into your thing, your gamer tag, it loads your achievements, and you gain achievements even for an emulation game. And so I've officially beaten it according to their website. I didn't know that it was officially considered beaten because there was still more stuff to do. But I think when you beat the tournament, because when I played the game with you Saturday, and I said 1 second, I needed like 10 more minutes. I was caught in the tournament, and the tournament I had to finish it, or you start over, and it didn't take that much longer. But once I did it, it made it to like all the ghoul characters and stuff you can just like have, where you can just play them at random or at will instead of at random. And one of the main things to the game was beat everybody in the game 10 times and then have a 5-win ratio to loss over each person. And that was a thing in itself. And then when you do that, you can unlock like this tournament thing where everybody's possessed by Merrick, and then you beat Merrick. And so I did all of that, and they told me within my stats on the retro achievements page that it took me 15 hours over a 27-day period, which I didn't know that they would have these type of specific stats. And in there they said it was beaten, and it was kind of funny because there were other games on there that I could have sworn I rolled credits for, but they didn't say it was beaten in there. Maybe it's because I didn't have a specific achievement that's not a real achievement, which is funny. But they said this was beaten, and funny enough, I just thought this was tongue-in-cheek humor that I could mention. Because I beat that game, they recommended to me to play a game on Game Boy Color that is probably on the handheld device you have and I have. That was called Sesame Street Elmo's ABCs on Game Boy or Game Boy Color, one of the two. And I didn't even know this game exists. I was like, "What? How did you get this from Yu-Gi-Oh?" Like, like I didn't know. It was just funny. I just thought I would mention it because that was one of the recommended games. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get all the achievements. I only got 54 out of 79. And the only reason I'm not going for the rest is because it told me one of the achievements was that you get 50,000 points in the game. And I'm at the point where I beat the game and they told me that I have just over 15,000. And I'm just like, I was already annoyed that I had to keep repeating the same thing. So I was just like, I don't know if I would have hold out for that. And if I'm not going to hold out for that, I don't need to do all the rest of them. So I kind of just like, I'll just stop. Because some of the tournaments going forward was like beat it where you're only using this type of monster or that type of monster, which restricts your power a little bit, which makes it harder for you. And I was like, that's how they get you to do it. But at the end of the day, it was like, well, I'm still going to face the same people with the same AI. And they're going to do the same thing, which is just their gimmicks that they had on TV. And it's like when they make you do it so many times, you kind of already know it. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and just move forward. So that game I will officially say is beaten. And I'm actually going to drop the device for a while and turn my attention to the Game Pass and PS Plus games. But I'm actually going to pick up the other device, which was the Mayu Mini Plus, because I still had 2 games on there that I need to finish. One of them was Pokemon Emerald, and the other one was Final Fantasy 1. The very, very first one, the Game Boy Advance edition, because that was the one that had the extra dungeons. And if people don't know, the Pixel version that they're selling currently does not have those extra dungeons. You have to play the Game Boy Advance version in order to get it. They did not port over that version. They went straight for the Super Nintendo version, apparently. Just for anybody to know if they just want to get all aspects of that game. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Do you have any thoughts on retro achievements? Did you get anything? Have you been playing anything on there?
I haven't checked the retro achievements website, but every once in a while when I'm playing something, like it'll pop up, like you got this achievement. So that's always fun to see.
What I thought was really cool was that it does give you a breakdown of your activity, so you do know like how much time you put into it and when you first started and how long it's taking you to get to the point where you have beaten status and stuff. And for anybody out there, that's still just like the Epic Games and stuff, that's still a free thing. Like I don't spend any money, and my gamer tag, not too many people, this is very niche, so not too many people know about it. So you can go in there and practically get the gamer tag that you want. And it really tells you, your stats, just like if you were on a regular console, like a PlayStation or Xbox, and they give you your stats and achievements and stuff, right? So I thought it was pretty nice to see. Because they told me, I feel like it was longer, but they told me it was 15 hours overall over 27 days. So that's still pretty cool. And I also think it's really cool that I'm playing on that little device, and then later I can just go on my computer and it's all updated, it's all there. You know, emulation has taken a very big turn compared to where it was before. Because it's like now the emulated version of a game is like interconnected, right? You can you can see this stuff. Like I can play a game on one device and then my achievements load in on, and my profile loads in on another device. Like somebody who has a bunch of these devices, they can still collect all the achievements overall. You know, nothing's lost and it all syncs up later, which is crazy when you think of emulation. Is like, this was just a file, right? It's just a file. It's not even the actual game, and it's doing better than the original game. So I just wanted to mention that, and yeah, we can move forward. And I do want to mention the middle of the road stuff now, so that is not really taking too long. And by middle of the road, I just mean Epic Games and their free stuff that they give out every week. I was mistaken the last time that we spoke. I thought they were going to start doing the game releases every day. I think that might start with the next mystery game, because usually they do something leading through Christmas into the New Year's, and then it stops at New Year's, I believe. And maybe I jumped the gun. I thought it was last week. But one of the games that they gave away that's you can claim right now is called Lord of the Rings Return of Moria. Have you watched them shows? Or not shows, movies? Lord of the Rings?
Nope.
No?
I have not, because growing up, there was like a whole... I blame Clerks for this, but it was like you get to choose. You can watch Star Wars, or you can watch Lord of the Rings, which you don't get both.
Who said you don't get both?
Just from Clerks, they got into an argument about which one was better, and I was on the side of Star Wars, so I just never watched Lord of the Rings. It was a battle between the two. It was almost like the same where there was like you watch Dragon Ball Z or you watch Naruto, but like very rarely do people watch both. Or you're an NSYNC fan or a Backstreet Boys fan, but you're not a fan of both. There's like a war always on like who's better. So I was with Star Wars, so I was just like, well, I can't watch Lord of the Rings. It's just about walking. Like, because according to Clerks, that's what it was. It was about walking. So yeah, I plan on watching them eventually.
I didn't watch them either. I remember people thinking that it was, or saying that it was much of a pain to watch in theaters, because I think these were the longest videos to ever be in theaters. And I don't know if it still has that record, but I think each film is like 3.5 hours. Like they really made sure that they got everything that they needed in each film. But anyways, here's the game. Lord of the Rings Return of Moria. For anybody out there that's into that lore, you get a whole nother game here under Epic Games for free. Right now you have until the 19th of this month to claim it. And then on the 19th, that's when we get the mystery game. And I don't know if right after that is going to be every day or if it's still once a week, but I would say just check back every day or just maybe the very next day at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Because if it is going to be moving to once a day, they always drop it at 11 a.m. And so you can claim it right then and there. If they say on there that the time frame is a whole nother week, then you're probably fine. But yes, mystery game on the 19th. And other than that, I just have like a couple quick announcements. I want to give a gigantic shout out to a game or a franchise that is making a comeback in the gaming world, which is Marvel in general, but Marvel Rivals specifically, because the game right now is the new hotness, I guess. And it got picked up by a lot of people and is way different than what they did with Marvel Avengers, where I think you were even saying it's like they tried to be two different types of games at one time, a single player game and then a live service. And so obviously it's the industry, so they chose live service. So they rebuilt the Marvel franchise around a live service game. Threw this out there. It's free. I know some people who cannot stop playing it. They're telling me they can't stop thinking about it. And there's a lot of people who are playing this on Twitch and other places. Yeah, it apparently has taken a massive fan base away from Overwatch, and Overwatch's numbers has dropped drastically, and a lot of that fan base has migrated to this game, and they haven't looked back. You got any thoughts around that?
Well, I mean, how do you do a hero shooter better than the company that makes heroes? Like, so
yeah,
yeah, I'm sure Overwatch. Like, I mean, from my understanding, Overwatch kind of got a little like stagnant. Like they're like, this is it, sort of. They weren't releasing more, so that's the whole thing with live service. Like, people want new. They want new stuff.
Yeah. I think on top of it too.
Overwatch dead. Like, I'm sure they'll have a comeback. With some stuff, but right now it goes to Marvel.
By default, everybody has their set of people that they know within Marvel, and the MCU has trained everybody to, be used to a lot of characters leading up to Endgame. Endgame just had like a whole army of people, right? And so like all these different people you can just play within this game and stuff right away. And of course they're going to start selling you skins, and I've heard from some people they don't care. They're going to buy whatever they want, and they're hooked to this game already. And so I just wanted to give a shout out because that was a
free to play.
Yeah.
As long as they're not egregious with the cost of skins, it's not like hey, you want to be black suited Spider-Man? We'll pay it $9.99. Like if they're reasonable, like $1 or $2, I'm always okay if it's a free to play game, and then it's like here's the skins. It doesn't. Like, you can fully enjoy and play the game for free.
Yeah.
And then if you want a different look, you can buy this. I'm a little more okay with that.
Okay. And so that's the good part. The other bad part that I just wanted to mention, as far as news, depending on how you look at it, and if you were a big fan of this game or these games, apparently, so some of this is old news that we just didn't mention, but X Defiant, which was the free-to-play Call of Duty-ish game, and then Foam Stars, which is like PlayStation's take on like Splatoon. I believe they're dropping support for both.
Oh no!
And
I have one more to add to that.
Okay.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League after the Deathstroke. DLC, I guess, to Chapter 4, which I think just came out. They're ending support in January.
Yeah, so some of these games that was supposed to just like keep going forever are not gonna keep going. What's really interesting about it too is like these companies need to understand or read the room. Like the people want real titles. Like I think the people want games that are like these free to play games, but then you don't pay nothing afterwards, which is, it's almost like you can't really. Like, you can't have it both ways, though, right? But it's like, that's kind of what people want. Like, they're not gonna... They just want to play the game. They're not that invested in buying a bunch of stuff. Yep. And they're definitely not about to hand over their entire paychecks to this stuff. I don't know what they thought was going to happen. Because some of these guys are, like, really thinking that they're going to just ka-ching. We about to be on yachts. We about to be living it up. And no, that's not the case. But, yeah, so... Foam Stars, I did that get a full year? X Defiant, I don't think was that a full year?
Foam Stars, I believe, was a full year.
Yeah. I don't. Can you look up this real quick? Cause I didn't see them saying they were going to delist either one, but it's just going to be done basically. But I think one of them might they might drop the servers for, but. They didn't sound like they was delisting it. It sounded like if you have it, you can still play. I'm not sure, but that's considered the low point. While you're looking that up, I do want to mention the other thing. The PlayStation 5 30th anniversary theme that we gave some praise to on, I think last week. Currently, I think I have mine on like the PS3 theme. Apparently, these are temporary. At some point, they're going to go away too. We don't have a time limit on it, but I'm guessing they might do it at the new year. And people want to just keep it. I would like to just keep it, turn it on, turn it off, whatever, switch between them. But apparently that's not lasting a full year, and it's actually temporary, period. Which is a whole thing in itself. Any thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I was looking up about these games. What's up?
I said the PlayStation 30th edition or 30th anniversary theme on the PS5 it's temporary. They're going to take it off at some point.
I don't want them to remove it. Like, just leave it. There's no issue with just leaving it.
Yeah, so we don't actually know when, but my guess is when we get to the new year, that's when it's going to get removed.
My guess was the 12, like it was like the 24th. It was when the current sale. And although there was just an update when I was playing yesterday, so of course like it ends with saying there's an update. So I hope that when I return it back on, it's not gone. I haven't turned it on yet.
Yeah, it's just temporary. But yeah, that's the other thing. Up.
Foam Stars is gonna continue. Like the online stuff will all be available. They're just not doing season updates after January. But all the previous season passes will be available, and you can just like switch through them as you want to unlock stuff and just keep playing. X Defiant, the servers are going to be shut down June 3rd. And it says, it's going to permanently shut down new player registrations, and downloads are no longer available.
So that's the one going away.
Play it, until June. You can play it until June.
That's so strange. I got a quick thing I want to say too about some of these games when they do that. Why would you, like for these live services and stuff, why you wait until right when you about to stop support to make everything that you make for the game available? You know what I'm saying? Like some of it be temporary. Like sometimes people just really don't get around to it. And then it's available once you shut it down.
Because I guess the logic being like, well, we're not gonna do this anymore. So for those of us that like were playing, here you go, I guess. But,
because do they realize that they train the audience a little way? Because those memes where it's like you wait 3 years or something for a game to be really cheap. Yep. Remember that meme? It's like that would apply to the people who's like, well, I'll wait until you say you're about to shut it down because you're gonna make it all free. You know what I'm saying? Like you train your audience that way. The people are understanding, and they weren't born yesterday. They'll just go play everything else, and then they'll come back to it and then play everything when it's free.
Also, with how time consuming these are, you're almost like waiting to just go, like, do I sink my teeth into this? Do I want to pay money, like, out of my pocket to get some stuff, or do I just wait and like until it's free and then like play it for a little while and then cut it back off? Because so many of them shut down that it's just why commit?
Yeah. I still think within the same generation is crazy enough as it is, but within the same year is way crazier. Because I think Concord still may hold the record for the quickest. You're right.
Yeah.
With the most money spent.
Did I bring up the petition last week?
I don't know. Go ahead.
I saw a petition. I saw a petition that said "Bring Concord back," and like the tagline said, "Sorry, PlayStation, we were all busy that week."
Yeah, I think I did see that part. What's really crazy too is that's a whole nother thing in itself. Like, they're not taking in consideration that if anybody's gonna have money enough to support any of these hobbies, then they're probably subject to a 40-hour work week somewhere, right? Not everybody is on the streamers like schedule, and even then the streamers are like a handful of people. When you talk about the people who actually get the review codes for free, excuse me, and I'm just like, like everybody else, of course you got 40 hours somewhere, possibly up to 60 if you're doing overtime or if you have a secondary job. It's like, yes, I will play it, but it's just might not be right now. Right? It might not. I bought so one game I could make an example for, which is kind of justified too, that I didn't play right away was Cyberpunk 2077.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Same.
I had that was the year it came out. I think it was 1 month after the new systems came out. I had a coupon or something from Best Buy that gave me like a big discount because I bought the systems, right? And so I used it to buy that game the next month and shelved it immediately because it was Cyberpunk and we saw how Cyberpunk was for a few years. But it's like I still have the game and I'm going to play it and I'm going to play the DLC um at some point, but I haven't played it yet. And I bought that technically day 1 December 2020 and we're December 2024. So I technically held that game for 4 years almost, right? So it's just happens. Like there are other
I
games
do
that
that with
came
a
out.
lot of games.
Yeah, other games came out afterwards that I played right away or just played at some point. And there are games that I even bought before that I still haven't played yet. It's just wherever you at with it. I buy
Mm.
games off of Steam all the time now. When they drop any game that I see, I get an email whenever it goes on sale. If it goes on sale and it's on my Steam list and it is under $5, I barely think about it. I would just grab it. I'm gonna be honest. If it's under $5, it's like literally there's no reason for me to really look at it. I put it on my list for a reason. When I start seeing the 299s and stuff, I don't even think about it. I just grab it. Do I play it immediately? No. I'll play it when I get to it. I have like a randomizer thing that I pull, which helps me play like my like lowest level game. I pick one at random when I'm playing it with a AAA game. That's kind of like a thing that I do. If anybody wants to know, but there might be a game under Steam, especially under Epic. We can talk about free games. There's definitely going to be a game under Epic that I've claimed that I might not ever get in my lifetime too. But it's just like if you keep giving stuff away for free, I'm going to claim it. If you still have a lot of stuff that's like $1 or two, I'm probably going to play it or buy it and not play it for maybe 5 years or something. I think that's just the gaming industry right now, as far as the consumers.
Yeah.
But the idea of just shutting so much stuff down like immediately is like they have this impulsive attitude over there that is very repulsive to a consumer because it's almost like when you walk into a store and I guess the actual employees in there is like commission based or something. They're just all over you, all in your personal space. Buy something, buy something, buy something. Just like relax. I just walked in here for a second. I just want to kind of look around. I'm just browsing, right? Oh, I'm just browsing is what normally somebody would say if you was at the retail position. And they're like, "Do you need help with anything?" It's like, "I'm just browsing. I'm just browsing." People feel that way online and stuff too. It's just like relax. I don't even, want to play this right now. And then they're always like, "Well, it's the employee's fault. Let's fire the employee." Right? That's the same energy. It's amazing how that energy is the same from like retail to the gaming developers. And it's like it's not their fault at all. It's just I really didn't want to play it right now. you know?
If you're gonna make a live service game, right? There's risk involved. Maybe not everyone's gonna jump on it.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're gonna make one, you gotta support it for at least 2 years. It's so stupid to like we're gonna jump in on this, and if we don't see that mega return by the end, like no, you gotta support it because otherwise, don't make a live service game.
I
Right?
also
Like
feel
look
like
how long it took Warframe to pop off. That boy came out in like 2012, and it's still going strong now. They just released another update, but I don't remember everybody jumping on Warframe within the
yeah.
first month.
Yeah, and they had the lady on stage too. She even admitted she was like, "We don't even know what this is anymore. We just keep updating it, basically." It's like we just
Yeah.
keep doing stuff to it, basically. Yeah.
But real quick, also you mentioned free games, and I actually have a list of free games. I'm
Go
coming in
ahead.
with free stuff as well. So Prime Gaming, you told me to like be ready with it.
Sure.
Or they have free games. Turns out they have 69 free games right now. So
69.
the thing is you'll need,
It's
so
a
if you
whole
have Prime
roster in
Gaming,
itself. Go ahead. Go
yep.
ahead.
So you need Prime Gaming. Some of them you need an Epic Games account as well,
Interesting.
because it gets added to your Epic library. And for a
That's very
hot
cool.
majority of them, you need GOG .com, which
Mm-hmm.
is also a free account. So you'll have to make that because it gives you a code,
Mm-hmm.
and then it unlocks it there. Now, for the games that are directly on Prime, which is only like 10 of them maybe,
Mm-hmm.
you need to continue to have Prime in order to play it. But the ones that get added to your Epic Games account, they're yours. The ones that get added to GOG, they're yours. Whether you have Prime or not. Once it's added to your library, it's in your library. Uh, so running through it, because I'm going to speed through it real quick. All right. Jurassic World Evolution, Overcooked 2, Dredge, Star Wars Bounty Hunter, The Outer Worlds, Electrician Simulator, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 1, Spelunky, Warhammer 40k Dawn of the War 2, Heroes Hour, Planet of Luna, The Coma Recut, Redrawn, The Painted Tower, Disney Pixar Wally, Elite Dangerous, Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Editions, Neverwinter Nights, Warhammer 40k Dawn of War, Space Hulk Deathwing Enhanced Edition, Necromunda Hired Gun, Quake 2, Tomb Raider Underworld, Call of Juarez Gunslinger, which I feel like is giving away a lot. Shogun Showdown,
Mm-hmm.
Sir Whoop Bass, Immortal Death, Overcooked, Super Meat Boy, Tomb Raider Anniversary, Mafia Definitive Edition, Mystery Case Files, Blade of Darkness, A Plague Tale Innocence, Max the Cursed Brotherhood, Moonscars, Riot, Bioshock Remastered, Scorn, Kerbal Space Program, Killing Floor 2, Gloomy Tales, Chasm the Rift, Miss Holmes, The Case of the Dancing Men, House of Golf 2, Death's Door, Close to the Sun, Duck Paradox, Bang Bang Racing,
Mm.
Koromon, Haunted Hotel, Monster Train, Pumpkin Jack, Stasis, Bone Totem, The Gunk, Morbid, The Seven Acolytes, Gap, Dread Out 2, Through the Darkest of Times, No Straight Roads, The Eternal Cylinder, Scarf, Ghost Song, The Falconeer, Gianna Sisters, Twisted Dreams, the Collage Atlas, Tiny Robots Recharge, Dexter Stardust, and Adventure in Outer Space, Faraway Arctic Escape, and Faraway 2 Jungle Escape.
Hey.
So a lot of indie games, but I mean, Killing Floor 2, The Outer Worlds, like the whole game, which they
Mm-hmm.
just like finally showed off some Outer Worlds
You
2.
mentioned also Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 is in there too. So if
Yeah.
anybody who's like really one of those people like me where they just feel like they have to play in order,
Mm-hmm.
they can play those two
Yeah,
and then
and
go buy the third one, right?
those ones are part of the GOG, so you get it, they're yours. You don't have to worry, like, if you only have like Prime for like a week, grab this stuff and then it's yours forever.
Now,
Uh
do they tell you like within that list do they kind of like tell you where to go for where basically?
yes. So each one, there's a little icon in the corner. So like for
Okay.
example, Jurassic World Evolution has an Epic Games in the corner, but on here you can click like collect, and it'll say like it'll take you to another screen that says, "Do you want it?" It'll be added to your Epic Games library. The GOG ones gives you a code, but if you click collect, it'll take you directly to GOG, where you just have to just say add to library. And then the Prime ones, if you click collect, it'll just say add it to your Prime library.
So all of this is like there's going to be a lot of cut and pasting for a lot of people, right? Because they got
Yes,
to
it does take
cut
a
and
couple
paste
minutes.
the
Now, what's
codes.
nice is for the code ones, you click to like get it, and then there is another button you can just press without you having to click copy, and it'll just take you to GOG, and then you just have to hit add to library again.
Okay.
But for the GOG ones, there is a time limit. Excuse me. So like Ghost Song,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it doesn't say how long it is, but this one is it says you have until January 24th, 2025 for that one.
Okay.
But when you click add, it'll add it to a like on your Prime game. There'll be like a library list of codes if you don't want to
Okay.
add them that day, and you'll have them all like claimed, and then just before the due date is up, you need to head over and click add.
So are the due dates all at the same time, or do some of them
No,
have different
that's another
dates?
thing. Some of them do have different, especially if it's like a AAA
Is it different
sort
per
of game.
platform, or is it different per game?
A lot of them per game. It's per game.
Okay.
So, like for example, that Ghost game I just said was January. Outer Worlds you have until March to actually like claim it. So they'll disappear from the Amazon Prime
Okay.
front, I believe. But if you click claim, then you for the GOG ones you have until its due date to actually claim it on GOG.
Now, do we know if, like, let's say, like, is something like only a week, or does everything look like they got maybe a couple weeks or a month, or
From
what's
what
like,
I've
cause
always
example
seen,
of the shortest time, I guess.
yeah. So usually the game is available the beginning of the month, and then you usually have like at least 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks before you need to claim it on GOG.
Okay.
So like
Did
one
they
that I'm
give a reason why they did like 69? That seems like a very excessive amount, like all at
they
one
just
time.
I think it's actually like they gave away 27 at the month, but then they didn't take away some of the ones from or from October and November.
Okay.
I think that's what it
So,
is. I think they add about like 20 like at the beginning of the month.
okay. So, like, even though you add them to like your GOG, so GOG is good old games for whoever didn't know. And then you add stuff to your Epic library. Are these games that you can access under like under Amazon's like what is that called? Their Fire Stick or something? Or
Maybe. That I'll have to look into. I just know that like Amazon Gaming has like a little app
yeah.
that shows your gaming library, but it doesn't show the ones that were added to Epic. When I open up my Epic library, they're in there. So
So
the
they have
Amazon one
you
only shows specifically games that you get through Amazon Prime, and I think it's because if you don't have a Prime subscription, you can't access those games. But the ones that you add to your Epic library, those are yours as long as you have an Epic Games account. Whether you have Prime or not, they're in that library.
because the reason I think I asked was because I remember Xbox did like some sort of partnership or something with Amazon where they were trying to have Game Pass on the Fire Stick. And
Oh,
so, like, if that was the case, and then you can just play from the Fire Stick directly on your TV, are some of these games kind of the same way? Was what I was kind of getting at. Where it's like you plug in the Fire Stick, you log into Amazon, and then you can launch some of these games that way. I was just wondering if that's the thing. If you don't know right now, we can move forward and revisit
yeah,
it
it
next
doesn't
week
say.
because that's probably a very specific thing. But yeah, that's actually still pretty cool because, like I said before, like you don't need. I've said this many weeks and before. When you're going to claim all this stuff, I had told somebody in person, yesterday or the day before the same thing. You don't need to have a PC yet. You just need to create your profile. And there's
Yep.
a lot of people who probably have Amazon, way more people who have Amazon than anything, that probably don't have a PC yet or a handheld, but they create their profiles and do their gamer tags and start claiming all this stuff. By the time they actually do get a handheld or do put a PC together or some version of an Xbox, right? They can log in and they can just see all of this stuff. And not
Yeah.
everything is trash. Like some of this stuff, like there's a Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 in here, and Baldur's Gate
Yep.
3 wouldn't exist if there was the 1 and 2, right?
So Baldur's Gate
So,
1 and 2, Mafia, Outer Worlds, Overcooked. Like these are like some of the Plague Tale
yeah.
Innocence.
Um, so that's a
Uh
very big list, to give right before Christmas and stuff.
yeah.
That'll probably satisfy a lot of people who probably couldn't do the type of thing that I did during Black Friday and stuff. Well, you still have all
Mhm.
of this.
Like to
And
be honest, if you have to put your money into getting a PC, this is great because you don't have to worry about also trying to really build the library until you have the money to get a lot of some of these other games. There's still an expansive list of stuff. Um, and I'm pretty sure there's some indie stuff in here that you may not have even known you would like. That
Yeah,
you just get
yeah.
to have for free. Like for example, I've had Killing Floor 2, um, do PlayStation Plus. I really like the game, and I'm looking forward to Killing Floor 3, and I plan on actually buying that one. And I would have never even noticed it if I didn't play through Killing Floor 2. So I'm sure there's a bunch of indie games here. There's a bunch of Warhammer games if you want to try and get into that universe. Um, Man,
There
there's
was
just so many
a
moments for free
yeah,
games.
there was a game that came out on or a game that was given away through Epic that I remember was called Hue, Hue, and I
Yep.
had never heard of it beforehand. The only way I heard of it was because of Epic Games, and if I remember correctly, I was going to do a review, and then for whatever reason I just didn't. But I did, show plenty of footage on really
Okay.
really early episodes of the channel, and that was a game I played to completion. It was a very niche, just cool little colorful game that I've enjoyed a lot. And I played it, and then that was it. And I just moved on. But I would have never known it exists or really, got a chance to play it if it wasn't for Epic Games giving it away, right? And so, you could find a lot of cool things. And if they ever come out with like a Hue 2 where they, do the same thing again but just different boards and different strategies and stuff, I would definitely pick it up because I thought the first one was cool. And that's the beauty of like finding all these free games, because even if you run out of AAAs, like the AA space really does have you covered. Like some of them are actually better than the AAAs. But yeah, we can move forward. We're still technically in the news section. Do you want to tell me about the secret level
Yeah.
episodes real quick?
So,
Mm,
uh, what is this on Prime? Speaking of Prime,
okay.
they have this show called Secret Level.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be 15 animated episodes. So half of them debuted this week, and then the other half come out next week.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and each episode is standalone. For anybody who's seen Love, Death, and Robots, it's similar to that. Where each episode is its own contained story, and you're good.
They're
They're
short
very
too, right?
succinct. Yeah. They're like some will be like 7 minutes up to like 20. Uh, Very short.
Standard YouTube videos.
Yep. So the first half, which I watched, really good. They had episodes on Sifu, which I thought that was like my favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
The Sifu one was really good, and then they did one for Pac-Man, where basically it was almost like give your own interpretation of Pac-Man, and they turned it into this like horror game that is now getting its actual own side-scrolling game. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Coming out. It was announced like during I think the pre-show for the Game Awards.
Yeah, I wrote that
Uh,
one down. Yep.
yeah. So and it's inspired by Pac-Man because they turned it twisted. The Dungeons and
Mm-hmm.
Dragons episode is really good. They had an Armored Core episode. This part 2 is gonna have the Concord episode, which again, it's crazy. This could have built up hype for Concord.
Yeah.
Uh, with people now seeing the characters going, all right, I want to see them more, and then jumping into the game, and now they can't. But Concord, they're gonna do a Mega Man episode, one that's just on PlayStation. That's all it says. And then there's like the Outer Worlds 2, Spelunky, which I just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned is one of the games that Prime is giving away. They're getting an episode, so it might be something to look into. Um, but yeah, these episodes are pretty cool. I enjoyed them.
Yeah. I did hear that the Concord one was still going to come out, and they weren't. Uh, they you see that's a good example of them just jumping
Put
the
in the work.
gun way too much. They just jumped the gun, and it's kind of a shame because they could have probably this would have been the surgeons that they would have needed. Because I think that reminds me
Yep.
of when Cyberpunk, like everybody just trashed it for a while, but then they had their anime which gave it its resurgence.
And that was a really good anime.
Yeah, it was just like it really gave it like almost a second release in a way, because they didn't even have the DLC yet, and then the DLC came out, and then at that point the game was a regular healthy game again. It took it some years, but they didn't just pull it, you know. And so yeah, they gotta do something about just their expectations going forward. That's the main thing. They gotta temper their expectations. They gotta understand their audience. It's almost like they're trying to sell everything to Bill Gates or something. It's like, do you know who your people are? Yeah, but we can move on to what's considered the main event. I didn't think we were going to get to it at an hour in, but hour and 5 minutes in. Let's talk about the main thing, but technically the pre-show first. The Game Awards. You know what's funny? I had wanted to mention when I was getting ready to watch this. At first, I wasn't going to watch it live until I saw that I was going to make it home from work in time. But I made it into the door and had the TV on. And when I clicked on it to watch it live and it was on the countdown, I had 15 seconds before it started. And I caught it just in time to sit down with it. I had bought pizza on the way, because at first I was going to cook, but I was like, I ain't going to have no time. So I just bought pizza, and then boom, I just watched the show. Right out the gate, the first thing they showed was Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. First game shown on the pre-show. I liked it right away. I wrote that one down. Was that something you wrote down? You remember that?
Sure was.
Yeah. Ninja Gaiden. One thing about this show too is I'll mention a lot of it really fast, but they they just threw out a lot of awards on this show, where they had the girl just kind of say it and just that's it. And so what I thought was probably one of the bigger ones, they just went straight into Best Fighting Game, which was won by Tekken 8. But they just kind of ran right into it. Did they have any other games that they shown before this that you wanted to mention?
I don't know. I'm not sure. So I didn't get the chance to watch the pre-show. I just kind of saw what was announced.
Okay.
So I know, Ninja Gaiden. Did they announce Slay the Spire 2 before that?
I don't have it written down. Maybe. So that might have been a game.
I could just say the other two in the pre-show was Slay the Spire 2 and Shadow Labyrinth.
Shadow Labyrinth, I did write down.
Yep, Pac-Man one.
That's the Pac-Man one, action platformer, 2D based, little horror-ish.
Slay the Spire 2 is so I played through Slay the Spire. It was given away for PlayStation Plus. And it was like a deck building roguelike game. Where basically you start with a starter deck, you use it to beat like monsters, and then as you move forward, you can keep collecting different cards to add to your deck to try and beat like a final boss in the end. And the boss you get is like randomly generated between like a few of them. So I'm excited for that game.
Okay. So they did, before they got to Shadow Labyrinth, they did have a few awards that they mentioned. So the best fighting game went to Tekken, and then they immediately said best VR AR game going to Batman Arkham Shadow. Best esports game, they said, went to League of Legends. They mentioned esports teams and stuff. I literally didn't write it down. Go Google it. They said right after that, the game that won Games for Impact was called Neva. I'm gonna be honest, that was the first time I've heard of it. I keep it real over here. I had not heard of this game beforehand. Have you heard of this game? Never. Okay. Never. So yeah, that shows you how much impact it had over here. But yeah, it won Games for Impact. Right after that, I want to shout out this streamer YouTuber. Her name is Cozy K. I've mentioned her a couple times before. They're really putting they're giving her some spotlight, because she was on a couple other shows beforehand. But she showed up on this show and showed off a game called Tales of the Shire. It's kind of a cozy game. Not really my cup of tea, But for anybody who's in the
Is that
cup,
the one where you look like an elf and you're making like a house in a tree?
probably.
Okay.
Only reason I wanted to mention is because they showed Cozy K. I actually had been subscribed to her back to when she had like, I think like 6 or 7 thousand followers, and she went from that to in the triple digits, and now she's being shown on all these different shows. And so I just think it's cool to see her show up on a lot of these shows, and now even like the Jeff Keighley Game Awards. You know, that's a really big look for her. So shout out to her. So if you're into Tales of the Shire, the game she showed off, they said that comes out March 25th, 2025. Right after that, innovation and accessibility, they gave this to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. This was one of the games that I bought on Black Friday. I have not started it yet. And then the interesting one, they threw the Nintendo award on the pre-show. Yeah. Best family game, and this went to Astrobot. Huge slap in the face to Nintendo. Just didn't they put it next to all Nintendo games, and Astrobot won this game.
Sure did.
And yeah, that was when I saw that, I was like, yeah, there's no winning for anything for Nintendo tonight. And sure enough, we'll get to it. But yeah, right after that, interesting enough, the makers of the Sifu game made or showed off a game called Rematch, which is more of a soccer game that is like third person soccer. You're like really in the court, really in there, and the look of it still kind of looks like Sifu, but it's actually a soccer game. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm interested in it. It might be a game that I get, probably not immediately, but I'm definitely gonna play it at some point. I didn't think Sifu would jump from Sifu to this. It seems like, or the makers of that would jump to this. It seems like the money probably would have been in a sequel for Sifu. But if Sifu was art by itself and it didn't need a sequel, we don't need to see it right now. But yeah, they jumped and made a soccer game. Did you see that? Did you write that down? Do you know anything?
I didn't. It was because it was on the pre-show. I saw that they like did something, and I was gonna look into it later, but I didn't add it to my list. But
yeah, so it's called Rematch. It's literally a soccer game though, or football for wherever you are in the world. But yeah, and then we get the main show, which goes to the actual host Jeff Keighley. They still had the girl show up every now and then though. I forgot the girl's name.
He made a joke. Even she said that was like, "Look at that! You just walk in the front door or something like that." I was like, "I'm back."
Yeah, so I guess she'd been there for a few years because I had looked back and I saw. I think I do remember her because I think the year God of War won, not God of War, Elden Ring won. And that year I was talking about God of War versus Elden Ring and stuff. Like I remember I watched it with this one girl, right? And all she did was like hate on this girl's outfit the whole time because she wore this like weird looking feathery pink dress. And so her dress tonight or that night was like just a straight up regular black dress, which was different. But yeah, but anyways, back to the gaming. Right away, so did you see this main show, the full show?
Yes. That I saw.
Funny thing about it, one of the first things that I did write down was that there was like a confusing moment at the very beginning where they called on the guy who they called the father of PlayStation. And forgive me for not knowing his name right now, but I recognize his face. They called on him and he thought he was supposed to go to the stage real quick. He was waving to the crowd and like, "What, you're calling me up there?" And then they kind of like panned the crowd back to Jeff Keighley real quick. And Jeff Keighley, the way Jeff Keighley made it sound, he almost sounded like he was going to call people up there. And he called two other people, and technically they never actually went on stage, and they weren't actually supposed to go on stage, and they didn't. And then he just moved on. Do you remember that point?
I do. Ken Kutaragi.
Yeah, very beginning. It was weird.
Yeah, it was a little awkward.
It was awkward. I just didn't know why that happened because it really did sound like Jeff Keighley was trying to call him to the stage though, and he was a little confused, but then kind of just like he made his way to it and then just walked right back. I guess they took the camera right back off of him. He walked right back. It was just a strange moment.
They didn't plan it out correctly. They probably should have told him what they were gonna do.
Yeah, I guess I don't know, but yeah, it was a quick thing and it was over. And then the next thing that I wrote down was Harrison Ford appears.
Yeah,
And
I love his joke. Like it was the funny, like, because I think Troy Baker did a decent job.
mm-hmm.
From what I can hear from the voice. So I love his joke that he said, "If I'd known you were gonna do that good of a job, I would have done the voice myself."
Yeah, yeah, it was. I thought it was funny too because it showed. He didn't want to read the teleprompter. He was like, skip all that. Or something.
Yeah,
He didn't want to read the lines. And I'm like, only he can get away with it, I guess. He just skip all of that. But it was cool to see him show up and give his honors to Troy Baker. You know, that moment almost reminded me of Muhammad Ali and Will Smith when Muhammad Ali was like kind of tongue in cheek with Will Smith during the promotion of Will Smith playing Muhammad Ali. I don't know if
yeah,
you remember that. It was
I
kind of
do.
it was similar to that to me. But
It
yeah,
reminded me of Al Pacino showing up last year. It's like
yeah,
I'm
and
looking at
some of
the
these
contract, like
actors
I
was
can't
like,
read.
yeah, they're like in and out too. It's like I don't know if you want to like some of the Mike Tysons in his world. It's like let's remember what they were, but yeah,
Yeah,
currently
let's not see it
yeah,
now.
yeah. Don't really want to
I
say it
actually
out
have a
loud, but
I actually have a
yeah,
coworker who's not like the biggest gamer. Like he'll play something every once in a while.
yeah.
Nowhere near a gamer is getting this game. Like he is an Indiana Jones like fan. He's an older guy, so he grew up
Mm-hmm.
with all the Indiana Jones movies or most of them and
Yeah.
everything. So as soon as this game was announced, he was just like, "All right, how do I get it on PC?" Like I had to walk him through pretty much getting a Steam account and stuff
Wow.
like that, so he can go and play it like that. And he's like, "What controller do I use?" and everything. Like
Mm.
this is all he wants to do. This is what he wants to play.
Um, I remember initially there was like a lot of core regular gamers who were dismissing this immediately just because it was in first person. But then afterwards, a lot of reviews and opinions came out on this, and everybody was saying it was a very good game. Despite it being first person, it's a very good game, and the acting is stellar. And people were saying this is probably Troy Baker's best when it came to
Okay.
acting as well. So that is a thing in itself. As far as like people only wanting to play, um, or only want to get a PC or something just to play this game, that actually reminds me of the flight simulator enthusiasts, where some of them had spent thousands of dollars on certain equipment to have TVs set up a certain way and an
Yeah.
actual simulation thing set up a certain way. And the game itself was the cheapest thing out of the whole thing that they bought, but they bought like this
Yep.
$1,000 machine thing to really make it look like you're in a cockpit. There are
Yep.
some people who are very, very big on that.
Not to
Um,
derail us, but real quick, there was a
mm-hmm,
the Am I the A-hole story where apparently some wife was saying that her husband is like that, where he had the
mm-hmm,
whole setup and he's always wanted to be a pilot, but like never went to pilot school. But then when they would go out to places, he would refer to himself as a pilot and tell everybody he was a pilot because he played through Flight Simulator and everything. So he's just like, yeah, I'm a pilot. Like they asked what he does for a living. He says
mm,
he flies planes and just kept doing that everywhere and would get really upset if she didn't go along with the story because he wanted everyone to know that he was a pilot because of Flight Simulator.
I will say, and then we'll get back on track. My very next PC part that I think I'm going to get is going to be an ultra wide screen. Like my
Yeah.
actual monitor is fine, but I was thinking about getting a really big, long, ultra wide screen at some point. And following up after that, I was going to get a race wheel. And
I know someone with a race wheel and like a whole VR setup.
yeah, I don't think I'm going to go past that though. Like the wheel and probably the pedal is enough. But I was thinking about getting that because I still wanted to play with the race wheel and stuff. I know I think I've mentioned that plenty of times in the past that I wanted to get that in a fight stick. But
Yeah.
I think like when you're trying to get one for console, it's only usually made for the console and not made to go anywhere else. But what I've noticed is that the race wheels, like the ones that are made for PCs, they're consistent. It's like you don't have to get the latest one because it's just simply playing for PC. And so I can get one that's not too egregious, that has all the parts that you really need, which may even include like the stick if I get that version. And I've seen like that can like attach to your chair, and then the pedal could be under you, and then you have the race wheel in front of you. And then if you have an ultra wide screen, then you can kind of mimic a little bit. So I'm kind of that's probably as far as I'm gonna go with it. But I understand, you know what I mean. But we can move forward. After the Harrison Ford thing, or he announced the best performance. They gave this to Melina. I didn't write her last name down, but she was the main actress from Senua Saga's Hellblade 2. And so she got to
so happy to win.
Yeah, she got to go on stage. She got to meet Harrison Ford right there on stage, which was cool. I think Jeff Keighley did mention afterwards that she won that same performance for the first game back when the first game first came out, which is kind of cool. Because I didn't actually know that or just didn't remember. But
we're
yeah,
probably gonna talk to Melina Jurgens. Her last name is either pronounced Jurgens or Jurgens.
It's probably Jurgens. It's probably Jurgens.
Yeah. But also, and we'll probably talk to it as we go to it. But did you notice Jeff sounded a little salty when like certain games kept winning?
I didn't really notice,
like,
but probably.
I just noticed like for certain ones, because like two of the main games that won, again we'll talk about it, was Balatro and Astrobot. And when they would win stuff, he goes, and the winner is Balatro again. Like the way he would say
yeah. Like, now I do want to say something about that in a second, but go ahead.
Like, yeah, but it's like I think they won 4 or 5 now. I was like, homie, you put the list together.
Right.
Like, why are you mad? Like, you did this. Don't put it in multiple categories.
I will say for almost every category, though, because when we were giving predictions before, I kept saying the logical choice would have to be this, because how do you not win this if you're in the Game of the Year category? Right. And lo and behold, in almost every category as we go along, you'll notice they did follow that logic. Everybody who was in the gaming, and it kind of got to the point where we got to that one category that had all the Game of the Year categories in it. And it was like, well, they kind of gave it away at that point if you follow logic, but we'll get to it. But after this was the next big release, or the next big announcement, or it might have been the first one, which might add to our embedded discussion that we're going to have throughout this show. But CD Projekt Red flashed the screen, and then they showed you this longer CGI movie-like trailer for The Witcher 4, which I actually thought was looking really good. I thought it was fine. And the discourse around this on TV, or not TV, on the internet right now is a little mixed, and obviously you know why. You know why. The
discourse is a woman. Like, so here's the thing. I haven't played through Witcher 3, right?
Yeah.
Yet. I plan to. I just haven't. But everything I've heard about The Witcher constantly was people saying, I can't wait until they make a 4th one, and I know it's going to be about Ciri. Or this series is clearly going to Ciri. Like, everyone kept saying that before I knew who these characters were. Yes. Then they released the show. Then, but constantly people just kept, I knew who Ciri was. Because it was like, they said if they would make a 4. Then it was hinted that there's a 4th one coming. And people are like, Ciri is going to be the new protagonist. Yeah. And then when they reveal it with Ciri, the new protagonist, all of a sudden is, why is it not? And it's like, they already said, if there was one thing I knew, is that Ciri was going to be the new protagonist. Like,
a lot of people, everybody who went through it knows that this was the path basically that made the most sense. But yeah, there are some people who are calling it woke Witcher, which I thought was a funny tagline.
I don't think so. Like, I don't like the fact that it's like the moment you hear a woman's voice, you're like, oh, there we go, woke. And it's like, bruh, like, wait to see what it's about first. If we're not talking about The Witcher, she's just in her feelings the whole time, then yeah. But like, if it's The Witcher, it's The Witcher. Like, calm down.
So this is probably a preview of the discussion we're going to have. By the time we get towards the end, we're going to have a real discussion around this because they turned it up to 10. Once we get to this one particular game that they announced,
yep.
but
Already know.
Witcher 4, they've announced it, and I think they said this was going to. I don't think this one had the 2025 like window, but they at least showed it. And I thought it was fine for what it is. Everybody who's in the know, they don't have a problem. Everyone who's not in the know and just calling it woke, they're kind of exposing themselves as people who didn't play. So, yeah. But yeah, I actually thought it was one of the better looking things of the night. One of the first bigger projects of the night. And they followed that up. Was there any other game before I get to the Bandai Namco that you may have seen? I don't think there was for me.
I don't remember the order.
Okay. I think I have it in order, so we'll go along. If you
go on in order, and then if anything gets missed,
all right. So I gotta say, when I saw this, I was like, "Yo, my co-host is gonna hate it, but we gotta hop in it." This was they threw out here. Were you ready for this, sir? A co-op Elden Ring game that is fully co-op based called Night Rain. I was not expecting that. I thought the trailer looked hyped, but I was not. I was like, yo, there's no way they're going to have an Elden Ring 2. I was like, there's no way there's an Elden Ring 2 this fast. But Bandai Namco and From Software, they put together this game real quick. I don't know how long it took them, but it's Elden Ring Night Rain. Apparently, it is a spin-off. It is not the official, part 2. It's just a spin-off. It is standalone. We've took a shot at Elden Ring before about them being in the Game of the Year category for a DLC. Well, they've heard your concerns and they said, listen, you need a game that is standalone so that they can win Game of the Year next year. As a standalone, we got you. And here is Elden Ring Night Rain. Interesting enough, it is built around co-op, which I think is interesting because I think they addressed the one thing, because the one thing people did say about Elden Ring in general was that it was very hard to do consistent co-op where you're just there the whole time. I think the game we were trying to play at one point, Code Vein, they kind of went with the same idea where you don't have consistent co-op. It's like if somebody dies, they're just gone, basically. And in their base Elden Ring game, you just had like a certain thing you had to do just to do co-op. You couldn't just put the person in the game. So now it's like, hey, here it is. We're giving you a game where it is fully co-op. And yes, I'm hyped for it. Are you hyped for this, sir?
No. As soon as they showed the trailer, my immediate thought that I said out loud was, he's gonna make me play this.
I was like, listen, man, look, they got you. You was like, you don't like the ones that's jank. You can't call this one jank. This is the Game of the Year one. You can't call this one jank. It'll hold you over until Lords of the Fallen 2. It'll hold you over, man. They got you, man. They got you.
We can't even beat Lords of the Fallen 1.
They got you, man. I was excited because they said it was co-op based and co-op centered, and it's like it is the game. Like it's like we can't really. They're worked on the jank at this point because this is gonna be the third-ish release within this, and they have all their experience from all the other stuff. So I'm excited. I don't know the way they kind of presented it too. I don't know if it's gonna be a full price thing, and I don't know how long it's gonna be. But yeah, they said I think this was one of them. They said 2025 as well. That's coming right on out. Yeah, and then I think people gave Jeff Keighley some credit a little bit. I kind of gave him credit too, where he was able to do commercials where it looked like they weren't commercials. This year, his show was, even though it was long, it was done at a very much better pace than before. Yeah. And it wasn't so in your face.
Really quick with that, I thought it was really funny where it was getting towards the end of the show, and I didn't know it was the end of the show. But he goes like, "Man, we have so much more to cover." And then they announced one more winner, two more trailers, and then he goes, "Now we're here for our final trailer." And I went, "Oh, like it was like he said so
Yeah.
much more, and it was like maybe 15 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe less." And then like he was like, "Yeah, now we're at our final reveal before like the big one." And I'm like, "You made it sound like it was like an hour left to go." Okay.
Yeah. And so at this point they were showing some games that were more in a commercial base. One of them was called Catly. Did you write this one down? It was like
I didn't, and I'm surprised I didn't because I actually thought that was like those weird cats, and I wanted to look more into it.
yeah, it was very they were trying to make it more hyper realistic, paying a lot of attention to like it being furry and like really glistening eyes and stuff, almost like Disney eyes and stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't much that they showed. They just kind of just had the cats going around or whatever. Then they showed Path of Exile 2, which looked very good from what I saw. They showed that. And then they got to the moment where it was my moment of the night because this is what I wanted to see. They announced the best action game and they gave it to Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah.
This was really what I wanted because I honestly thought, we'll get to it in a second, but I didn't think that they were going to win, but I thought that this should have been where they should have won because it makes the most sense. And they
Okay.
did. And at that point, I was like, okay, I got what I wanted because there's no way you was going to throw any other game out there and say it was best action game over this. But they gave it best action game, and I was satisfied with it. And this wasn't the only Black Myth Wukong's like award, which I also thought was cool, but they got this one. And so I was like, all right, they got that, and now it's solidified as good. And then we can move forward. And then interesting enough, because we've mentioned this before, we don't want to start seeing games announced until they're actually like ready to go. Well, they went in the exact opposite with this one because it was something that I thought looked very interesting because it's going to be similar to the type of interest that we were into because of, franchises like Power Rangers, right? Like we're going to play the game later on, but Epic Games of all companies they showed a project that they literally don't even have a title for yet. It's an untitled project. And the most that I remember seeing was that there was somebody like climbing into the head of what looked to be like a Megazord, and it flew away in time before the stampede came in and started punching at the body and stuff. Did you see that trailer?
Yes, it was from the creator of what's it called? Shadow of Colossus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fumito Ueda. It's called Codenamed Project Robot, but it doesn't have an actual.
Yeah, how you feel about that? We're
Untitled.
still showing stuff that's so early on that we don't even have the actual name for it yet. We're still showing. I feel like they're going in
So
the wrong direction with that.
because it's this studio where they
Mm-hmm.
like all focus on just one game and then release it. Like I trust that they're gonna release this one, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
like they did Shadow. Like I wouldn't have trusted if it's at Ubisoft because it's like
Mm-hmm.
y'all work on too much that y'all will drop this if it's like not coming together. Where I
Yeah.
feel like for a studio that like focuses on one game, I'm a little how do I put it? I still don't like it. I don't like them like advertising things that are not nowhere near ready. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
a little more okay knowing that they're probably gonna like for sure release it. But then again,
Yeah.
at the same time, they may get halfway through and go, "Yeah, this whole thing's crap," and restart from the beginning, and it looks nothing like it.
Yeah. It's
I
just
actually don't want that. I'd take it back.
the
They
only
shouldn't be doing it.
thing. I think this might be one of the only games that was shown where you don't have the ability to go wish list. So that was a thing for me. So it's like I don't even have a way to track this game right now.
Yeah,
I can only try to like write down a description on a sticky note or something. Like I can't track it. I can't keep it, on any of my lists that I can just come to and be like, bam, I'm about to buy. But yeah, they showed that. Then we had the music selection for Civilization 7. I didn't have any problem with their music selections, really. I thought they were very, very well talented orchestras. And little thing about me, I do listen to that type of music, or I just have it in the background sometime when I'm in the house. But I like the music selection. Did you watch that part? The music?
I did. The music
Okay.
was like it was all pretty good. I
Okay.
don't know, like nothing like really nothing like that one performance that I went crazy about like a couple
Hmm.
years ago, where I was like, "Yo, this was like wonderful," and I want to download it. There was nothing like that that called out to me. But all of it was pretty good and decent.
Yeah. And then moving forward, Obsidian, an Xbox studio, they
Yeah,
finally showed off the Outer Worlds 2, where they
one of
gave,
the games I'm most excited for.
yeah, they gave a actual showing this time, because I can actually give of like not a repeat, a flashback. So the
Oh,
last time
I've
that they
watched that
showed
last
this,
trailer several times.
oh really?
Uh-huh.
The last time, or the first time that they actually announced this, was actually at the Xbox Summer Showcase from 2021, and they
Yes.
had the same narrator who had like more of a jokey trailer where they was just like, we ain't even got nothing yet, so
Yeah,
just
where he said,
enjoy.
here's generic shots of like people running and everything that like it's like look animals moving and it's like now we cut to this cityscape that probably won't be in the game and like
Yeah.
it mocked generic trailers which if you've played the Outer Worlds one
Hmm.
uh that announcement trailer made a lot of sense and everything because it kind of mocks capitalism
Yeah.
so it was like hey here's this like super capitalism like generic commercial.
Yeah, so they came back with the same tone and
Mm-hmm.
actually did have something to show for it. And they gave the release window of 2025. And I actually thought this was interesting because I think this is one of Xbox's games similar to the new Doom, where day and date it is going to release on PlayStation as well,
Nice.
according to what I was seeing. And so yeah, Xbox is not locking down anything, it seems.
Okay.
So this will
This
be
is
completely, well, it's not going to be on Switch, but it's completely
yeah.
multi-plat everywhere else.
It
So
is a day two buy for me.
yeah,
Like make sure
everything,
it's working and then
everything is an Xbox, right? We're going to get to that probably in a
yeah.
second. But yeah, and then they actually showed another co-op game. So this came from the guy, I forgot his name. I do apologize for that, but he looked just like, I think they put him in the game before It Takes Two. What was the name of the game where you escape the prison?
Oh, yeah, a way out.
A Way Out. So yeah, they basically they took his whole image for that game and put him in there, but he was the directors and he came to show off his
Haze
new
Light.
co-op game.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yosef Fares.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And I thought it was cool. He showed his wife and kids in the crowd too. Came up there swearing like a sailor at one point, and then he announced,
Oh, he has the famous meme where like during one
yeah,
of the other ones he just said F the Oscars.
yeah, and because I remember Jeff Keighley was like, "We're bringing him back against our better judgment" or something.
Yeah, giving him
Um,
the stage all to himself against our better
yeah,
judgment.
and he was just like, "You're gonna like this game and everything," and I'm very confident. And then he showed it off, and it was very, very creative. They're very, very creative at that studio with what they
Yeah.
do. And so this was called Split Fiction, and these were the it's two people who were writers, I believe,
Yep.
that kind of got thrown in their worlds, and one of them is
One's
more
oh,
natural, the other one's more cyberpunk in a way.
yep. One's classic like your old school Dungeons and Dragons type of
Yeah,
adventure foresty stuff and the other one is all cyberpunk
yeah, and so
dystopian.
they called it sci-fi and fantasy worlds.
Yes.
And what was very interesting about this is towards the end, he was very confident about this, and he mentioned you only got to buy it once. The other person can get a friend pass, just like that. And there
Mm-hmm.
are no. He said this, I think verbatim. There's no microtransactions. There's no DLCs. There's no BS. You just play the game.
Yeah.
And I think he's very prideful about that. And it's interesting that he said it like that because I'm pretty sure there's going to be plenty of other games here that will have that type of content. But he went out there, was like, there's no BS, there's no nothing. This is just, here it is.
He stands on that. Apparently, one of the earlier times where he did the whole F the Oscar speech, he
Yeah.
went off about EA's microtransactions before.
Yeah.
Like, he's very passionate. Like, here's the game. We'll play the game. You don't need both of you to buy it. We're making a co-op game, and like only one of you needs it. Like, we care about the gamer, not
Yeah.
the money.
Man, so Tears of the Kingdom footage just went on the screen. That means we are technically in overtime. We do have plenty of footage and we'll be able to finish this. But I remember in the back of my head, I was like, once we get to Nintendo content, that's when we're in overtime. So I'm like, man, this show is not as short as we thought it was going to be, but that's okay. Right after that, that's when the show kind of took a turn to me, but I think they still did this in the right way. But Jeff Keighley doubled down on continuing to spread awareness for developer layoffs, and he decided to give a surprise award that was called the Game Changer Award, that they just kind of, it was almost like the Connor the Crusher Award that WWE was doing for a while. So he made this up on the spot and gave it to the guy named Amir, who created a way to help people within the industry get jobs. And he was very passionate about it. He created this big long Excel spreadsheet list to send to everybody and stuff. And people, I don't know how that's set up, but whenever, if there were layoffs, if their studio laid them off or whatever, he was someone who was helping those type of people get more jobs. And they made that a whole thing. He got on stage, he talked about it, he had a very passionate speech about it. He was crying at times, and they gave him an award, and it was just like this special thing. I still kind of feel like, you know, I don't want to see that in the award show. It kind of just like leaves a sour taste a little bit when you have to think about it, but at the same time, it was still done in a very tasteful way, and it does spread the most awareness here. It
reminds me of there's a story that happened where it was like a teacher who had cancer, and he ran out of sick days, so all of his colleagues were giving up their sick days so he can like stay and recover. And it's like an initial, when you hear it, it's like, oh, that's sweet. But then when you actually think about it, you're like, well, why do they have to do that?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like well, why do you have to fire people? Because you're still going to do it. Yeah. Like the companies are still, you know.
Yeah, so while it's sad that, you know, this thing had to happen, it's cool that he made it happen.
Yeah, so he got that award. Now, this was also still a very cool, wholesome moment where I think it might have been the first moment where everyone in the crowd did stand up for this. And they were very positive about this and really gave him, I think he actually got more of a standing ovation than Harrison Ford, honestly. But yeah. Cool moment somewhere in the first third of this show, and he went up there, he got his award. The funny thing, when they handed him an award, I really thought he was about to present something else, and I didn't know that they were giving him that award. And I don't know if they put the tagline on the screen, but I found out later that it was called the Game Changer Award. And I don't know if that's going to keep being a thing where they just honor certain people, but they did it this year and it was still cool. And he did say one thing that I do agree with. You can't have great games without great people. You got to have the people to make the games. So it's never the people's fault. It's just, even when we, like I said, for, you know, the first part of this show, if we just don't get around to it, we don't get around to it, but it's never their fault.
No,
you know, you should fire the CEO. Don't fire like 50 people or whatever. But yeah, very next thing that came up, I was very interested in this. It looked like a Transformer game to me. War Gaming presents Steer Hunters. Steer Hunters. Looked very transformy. They didn't actually transform though. It was just like you had some stand-up robots and you had some like kind of all four kind of robots, and they were just kind of moving around, shooting around. Did you see this? Did you pay attention
I
to this
did.
at
It
all?
looked good. It reminded me of a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of like Armored Core, like Gundam or one of those.
Mm-hmm.
Or Zoids. But yeah, it looked good. I want to see more about it. But
It was very good. And then the fan favorite of the podcast was shown next. This was Gearbox. They brought the guy out there who he came out there just assuming everybody knew exactly who he was. And he was just like, "Are you ready? You already know why I'm here. I'm about to show you Borderlands 4. It's coming out in 2025." And he had like a big 4 on his back and did a whole thing.
yep.
Pointed to the screen. They had like more of a cinematic trailer that kind of just looked like this big war between a bunch of NPCs. And they showed off the game. If you've been a fan of Borderlands, you know what to expect. There was one thing though that stood out to me. They kind of stole the Halo grapple hook thing that
Yeah.
Halo Infinite was very known for. And so it looks like that is going to be in this game, and it moved exactly like Halo Infinite. Did you paid attention to that? It sounded like you noticed that.
I did. Yeah. As soon as I saw it. Although you have to give shout out. What was that other game that did the grappling hook before that? But it looked more Halo because it was first person.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is the one. Oh, what's the game called? It's like where everything can be destroyed.
Mad Max
No, there's another one.
or something remastered. I think I forgot his name.
Maybe it'll come to me. But
When
yeah,
you say everything
basically,
could be destroyed, I know that was one of them.
yeah,
Something remastered. I forgot the name, but yeah.
yeah. But it did look like Halo because of the first person. It was like
Yeah,
I wonder
because
how much it's gonna be needed. The fact that they showed it off.
I just know that at one point people was basically using the grapple hook to traverse. It was almost like you were like web swinging like Spider-Man in that game. And it'll launch you up a little way and it'll give you some height and you can kind of shoot as you're coming down. So it looked like they were doing that. I don't think it would be funny if Halo all of a sudden was like, we patented it, you got to pay us like Pokemon or whatever. But yeah, they showed it. 2025.
I was thinking of Just Cause.
Just cause. Okay.
Yeah, because that has a grappling hook. But yeah, the first person makes it look like Halo.
Hmm. Yeah. And then right after that, they kind of just showed a quick little announcement that the main character from Final Fantasy 16 will be joining Tekken 8.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool.
Because it wasn't Tifa.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that's an immediate update. I think people can go do that right now. That was more immediate. Then it has some more rapid fire announcements. Most anticipated game. Obviously, we didn't even say it last week, but we already knew. You already knew it was game. It was Grand Theft Auto 6. Most anticipated game. Best multiplayer game. They actually gave this to Helldivers 2. I don't know why I thought they was going to give it to what was it, Fortnite, but they gave it to this.
I assumed it was going to be Fortnite, and they said Helldivers 2.
Yeah, I don't know if I wrote it down, but at some point right after that, they had a dude come out there fully dressed as a Helldiver, basically, and
yeah, the guy I think who made it, or
yeah,
no, he did the announcement.
Yeah, and yeah, he gave out like there was gonna. Oh, I do have this written down, so we'll get to it in a second. Well, yeah, Helldivers 2 won that, and then best community support went to Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah,
and best art direction they gave that one to Metaphor ReFantazio.
Yep.
And then they showed another Transformer type game that they've shown before, a Gundam Wing looking game. This is Mecha Break. I've already had this wish list. I think they gave a release window this time where it is coming spring 2025. I really like how this looks. It looks almost. I actually thought it was Gundam Wing at first because the first one they showed a very popular Gundam Wing, but yeah, I will be playing that at some point for sure. We got more music after that, which I thought was very good. From the same, I think it was the same band. I don't know if they had a different one. And then they had an announcement that Virtual Fighter is back. Basically, just Virtua Fighter is back, and then they show some sort of footage of them playing it or gameplay of it. So a new game from Virtua Fighter is going to be coming in the future. And then another game that I thought was really good looking, that's more on the gory side. So now we got a gory looking game that's more of a AAA game. Project Century, from the makers of Like a Dragon. They threw this out there. It looked very good to me. It's something I'm going to be looking for. Yeah, very gory in a way. Does that really affect you? I don't know. Is that a thing? Because I've noticed in the industry, they try to overall steer away from gory stuff.
Oh, no, it doesn't bother me. I think it's because gory almost makes it like they got to put an M rating, and if it's a T for teen rating, more people can play it.
But I would imagine this was going to be M anyway. You know, some of these other ones.
Didn't shy away from the gore.
Yeah. But yeah, so.
Yeah, it looks good. At first, I thought it was going to be Sleeping Dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, something like that. But no, it's still related to the Like a Dragon. But still good.
I think this was the moment where they kind of gave away the big one in a way. If you're looking at just the logic of the show, like what I was always saying, because Jeff Keighley announced Kojima. Kojima comes out and he announces best game direction. And I think this was the one where they had the exact same list as the Game of the Year award. And they gave this to Astrobot. And I was like, at this point, I was kind of like, if I'm going to follow logic, then you kind of just told us, right? Funny enough, the internet mentions this. I didn't go back and check because I don't really want to hear this. But they said Kojima farted on stage and everybody was able to like hear it in the audio, I guess. So I didn't actually go back and look, but if you like tongue-in-cheek humor like that, I guess you can go back and look. But he kind of had like a speech about game direction and he had his interpreter there and they were going on for a moment, but I guess like at one point he just let one go and the interpreter was kind of like thrown off or something. Yeah. And so best game direction.
Real quick, I just thought about it. I don't even remember what they was about, but there was one. It might have been when Black Myth won, where when they were accepting the award, it was the guy and his translator, and the guy like says a sentence, and it looks at his translator, and the translator just says "go on," and then the guy gives a whole speech. And in my head, I was like, "Are they not about to translate this?" Like
I was making some jokes too. I was like, "Bro, he got to re-say everything that you said, right? You got to stop after a while. You got to stop because I think one of those translators had a whole like pad that they was like writing down stuff.
I started to think, I was like, maybe that guy isn't a translator. They're both just not about to speak English. I didn't sit down. Like that's what I started thinking. It's just like there's no subtitles, nothing.
Yeah. Now the very next thing I actually popped for hard. I popped for this really heavy. They showed Turok Origins, which is now a third-person shooter instead of first-person, like the N64 games and stuff back in the day was first-person. But I popped for this because I still remember the game Second Instinct that was like delisted in its infancy when it was still a beta. And they just decided to just quit. I don't know if it was because they just didn't have a fan base really. But I thought like this type of game was taken away from me. You know, you just want to, shoot some dinosaurs or something. And so now we have a name brand version coming back in third person with these like kind of weird people who have like shape shifting abilities or something, which is a whole new thing in itself.
They said you can get like armor, like it was like dinosaur armor.
So yeah, they were showing that off, and that's definitely gonna be something I'm gonna want to play whenever it comes out. How you feel about this game, third person dinosaur
it was on
shooting?
My list. It looks fun. It was definitely on my list. I love me a third person shooter. The Turok series has always been cool. So the fact that it's back, it just looks great.
Yeah, and so I have on here that that's when the Helldivers guy came out and did his whole thing and talked about the update for
Super.
Helldivers. Yeah, in his outfit that I still feels is like a Dark Vader. It just looks like Dark Vader every time I see it. But yeah, so he came out and did that.
Dark again?
Huh?
Did you say dark again?
No, it's a Dark Vader. Dark Vader.
Darth.
Dark, whatever. One of them. Chocolate Vader. Dark chocolate Vader.
Darth.
Sexual
Vader.
chocolate Vader. So, anyways, uh, right after that, they actually gave a quick update for Power World. Power World is firing on all cylinders. Despite what's going on, they're showing
Bro,
up on this big stage.
I ain't gonna lie,
Mm-hmm.
though, because, they got, Nintendo is getting mad. Their
Mm-hmm.
next update also, like, rips from Nintendo.
Yeah.
I don't know if people peep this, but the DLC for one of the Pokemon games, the Sword and Shield, one of the
Mm-hmm.
DLCs, the first one is you go to an island where there's a kung fu master and he has a bear that he trains with that he gives you, and you get to evolve it into one of two, based off of like a path you take. And then this
Mm-hmm.
one had a kung fu master with a bear wolf that you get to have, and I was just like, so y'all just doubling down on
Yeah, they
Pokemon.
doubling down. I really think what their strategy is long term is that they're going to still build the hype off of this and then immediately do a Power World 2 where they remove some of the stuff that the lawsuits would have been on and convert their fan base, and Nintendo can't do nothing at that point. That's what I'm thinking. I think that's what's going to happen. And then going
Okay.
forward they'll just keep coming out with whatever they have. But I think they're gonna have a Power World 2, and it's possible they might sink everybody into it by making it free to play because this game was $30 at launch, and if they make it free to play and stuff, a lot of people, because they had a lot of people come in off of that game, but it was more on Game Pass, so they were kind of doing they got the fan base because of a lot of people had Game Pass anyway. But if they do free to play, and with the momentum of how people don't like Nintendo, I think they might actually peak some numbers that we're seeing from Marvel Rivals, but we'll have to see. Um but yeah, right now they're still going like there's nothing happening. They're calling this Power World Fay Break. And yeah, they have a update. So anybody, I'm actually looking to hop in it once I use another one of my Game Pass codes. I'm gonna hop into it and just for some footage real quick. Then we get the moment where I was kind of rolling eyes a little bit. Xbox showed this is an Xbox video that they actually showed on YouTube, so they showed it on this stage. I don't think there was anything different. Well, actually, no, there was they did have like this like function or this like input output machine where they were trying to say, oh, this is an Xbox. Oh, this is not an Xbox. This is like ice cream or something silly like that.
Yeah.
Um, and the room was just like, we're not really feeling this, but whatever. It came and it went, and then they actually. What's funny is they followed it up with more commercials of people showing off PC stuff, and it's like at that point they still weren't showing. They weren't calling it an Xbox because it was an actual PC ad. It was just like the way it was put together was kind of confusing to the audience. Like, okay, everything's an Xbox, and then now it's a PC again. So that was a whole thing. That followed up with the best debut indie, which they gave to Belantro. Um, and then Capcom presents a whole new game over there, Omni Mushi, The Way of the
It's
Sword.
not a. It's kind of. It's a. So Omnimusha
Mm-hmm.
was an old school game that I loved on PlayStation. Like as a
Mm-hmm.
kid, like I think this is like PlayStation 1, maybe 2.
I think it was
Um,
two.
and then
Yeah.
now they're releasing, yeah, another Omnimusha. I am excited for that.
Yeah. So I'm mistaken by saying it was, or I wasn't supposed to say it was brand new, but I do remember this because it is. So they got the same people together who made the first one, which actually I remember specifically because I was putting those games on the Steam Deck from PlayStation 2. I remember specifically having to Google the artwork for this to put on the Steam Deck so it looks nice and pretty. Because it didn't automatically, it did automatic for like a whole bunch of them except for like 3 or 4, and this was one of the games. And so yeah, it came from the PS2 way back when, and they got the original developers back, and this is, they've put the window 2026 out there. So I don't know how far they're into it, but they're saying 2026. Interesting enough, they followed this up with the first Berserker Kazan. Now, at one point, they had showed on YouTube like footage of gameplay footage. I don't know if it was IGN footage, but it was like 10 or 15 minutes long, and in some spots it looked good, and in some spots it did. Right. So when they showed this again, they moved away from gameplay footage and went right back to just doing kind of a trailer where the dude is like near death, and then like something like grabs him off the ground and he's like sword and shield and ready again. I guess it like, regenerated this game's hype a little bit, but they gave also an actual release date of a hard release date of March 27th, 2025. Do you believe in this game again? How you feel about that trailer? How you feel about them showing the trailer instead of more gameplay?
Trailer looked nice. I don't know. I saw the release date, and in my head, I was like, "Yeah, we'll see." Like that's how I always feel that way. So
yeah.
Hopefully
the art style and the type of game that it is, it's still intriguing to me enough that I can say, even if it's not as good as I would want it to be, I will probably still play with it on a Black Friday price at the very least. I don't think I'm just going to write this off altogether, especially the presentation that they gave. It's just like, that's the kind of game that I would play though. So I am not going to buy that day one, but I will be like paying attention to it. Anybody out there who played Dying Light and you actually went through the full 500 hours and you're saying you want more, that 500 hours that they said it took you to play Dying Light 2, that wasn't enough for you? Well, they're coming back with another game coming summer 2025. They showed Dying Light the Beast. How'd you feel about this? Did you see that?
I did. I haven't played Dying Light 2 yet, so I didn't get super excited about it, but I did.
Man, right after them saying, I wonder how many hours do you think they're gonna say it take for you to beat this? Maybe 1,000, or are they gonna like dial it back? I don't think they're gonna dial it back too much. Yeah, I think they'll dial it back, but I think they're still gonna probably say like, well, it takes 250 hours now or something. I don't think they're gonna dial it completely back, because there probably was somebody out there who's like, yes, this game will last me forever and I want to play it forever. I guess. So we're moving on to the last couple parts. We actually went over 2 hours, but we're wrapping it up anyway. Best action adventure game, they gave that to Astrobot. How did you feel about that?
Yes. I was here for it.
Best, so they did a bunch of these like in a row. So it was best action adventure game, they said Astrobot. Best RPG, they said that was Metaphor Refantasio. And for the small crowd out there that was more saying this was still controversial, best sports racing game is EA Sports FC 25. And remember, there's a crowd out there who says, hey, they should have put the football game in this category. But they didn't. Best sim strategy game, they said this was Frostpunk 2. And right after this, I didn't write it before, but I think this might have been the second time that they showed them. They had the Muffets out there to kind of play tongue in cheek. Yeah, they were more, their thing was to make fun of the people who like talk trash about Jeff Keighley and his show. And yeah, because I remember they called out certain things that Jeff Keighley probably is aware of. I think this is like more of his idea that he's aware that people don't like Elden Ring being or the DLC of Elden Ring being in the Game of the Year category, because the crowd even reacted to that, and they had that in there where they addressed it. The Muppets addressed that. They also said at one point that this theater is not even like fully packed, like you didn't pack it out. So they were saying certain things, and so yeah, it was still tongue-in-cheek humor. It didn't last too long, but sometimes there were people in the crowd that was just like, wow, you really said that? Like some of the jokes that they were having on him. I guess some people didn't like it, I guess, but yeah, they had the Muppets out there. The Muppets was there a few times. And then this was a cool moment. They had the Squid Games had a whole group of people that came out just like the show. They were dressed like the people from the show and had some of the gimmicks from the show. They mentioned that the season 2 was coming, and then they also mentioned the game Squid Games Unleashed, where you can actually play if you have a Netflix account. I don't know if even anybody like remembered that Netflix was having their own gaming thing, but this would be a bigger name for them as far as like a game.
Specifically said you don't need a Netflix account to play.
Oh yeah, they did say that, but they like Netflix has you're right, they did say you didn't need it for that. But Netflix is trying to build a gaming thing underneath where you will need it though. But this is one of their biggest titles that I guess is an IP now ish in the gaming world, but we'll see, because I don't know how much or how that really works, but it sounded like it was more of a mobile thing. But yeah, so they had that. Then we got a performance from Snoop Dogg. Did you like his performance?
Yeah, I mean, Snoop Dogg's entertaining. It's fine.
Yeah. Actually, no. This wasn't the performance yet. This was him and his son announced that the award Best Ongoing Game. They also announced they have Death Row Games as a studio, which is interesting. So they're going to, what they said was present more games that is surrounding minority stories is what they put, but it reminded me of the game that's going to come out on Xbox that some people out there have a problem with, that was called South of the Deep. I think that's the title, South of the Deep, but they were going to be hovering around the subject matter of black people in southern states during like probably MLK times. And so I don't think Snoop Dogg is probably going that way. Snoop Dogg might be going more of the 90s when he first was getting started and how hip hop was.
Minority protagonists as opposed to having to remind ourselves how crappy the past.
I think what's probably going to end up happening is we might see some games that look like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. The beginning portion before CJ kind of like branches off into different parts of the state.
Okay.
And leaves the hood. Because in the beginning, everything was hood. Like everything was hood based, and it was just like a comedy. And you're running around in the hood. There's rival gangs and all of that. I think we're going to see some games that do some stuff like that, where it's that subject matter. But South of the Deep, I think that one's going to have some like really strong subject matters from, Black History times that we hear about all the time. So we'll see. Snoop Dogg says he wants to do more urban stuff, more he didn't say urban, he said minorities, but we'll see, because that's pretty much where his audience is, his core audience. Afterwards, we got showing of Game of Thrones, the game called Game of Thrones King's Road. Interesting thing about this one, they had everyone's likeness in here. They did not leave anyone out, it seemed. And so I don't know how the game is going to play, but it looked like everyone was back to voice themselves, and they had all their likenesses in here. And so somebody paid big money to do this, I guess. And so I wonder how that would be. We'll just see. I still got to watch the last season that everybody said was the trash. But
you play as a new character living in like if there was another person in this world.
In their world, yeah.
Yeah, similar to like, for example, funny enough, the Yu-Gi-Oh games. where it's like the story plays out like normal, but you're just this new character that's just there.
Yeah, majority of this show is a very good series. I would advise everyone, please run through it before this game comes out. They said it was 2025, so you got some time. Run through the whole thing, and you'll get an idea, and then you won't be left out and not knowing what's going on. And then the next game, I'm a fan of the franchise from the past, but I didn't really like what I saw here. Double Dragon Revive. I liked Double Dragon.
Yeah.
Double Dragon was something for me that I used to like and support and everything when I was in like early elementary school, but didn't care too much about this game. You got anything to say about the game?
I still want to check it out,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I feel like the trailer didn't get me hyped for it. It was the name. I was like, oh cool, there's another Double Dragon. But if I was solely based off of the trailer, it would have been meh.
I'm gonna be honest, dog. This one kind of looked like it almost looked Dragon Age ish a little bit as far as his art style too. It just not appealing to me. So I'm not saying I'm gonna skip it altogether. If it comes out and there's some good stuff there, then I'll check it out. But it was just not appealing to me. I'm gonna be honest. Best adaptation was next. That was going to Fallout. I heard very good things about the show. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard very good things. I will check it out and check out. I got all the games at this point. So yeah, Fallout. Then we get the Snoop Dogg performance. He was performing new music. Apparently, his music that he was performing is from a brand new album that should be out right now or later this week. I think it is out right now. So go check that out if you're a fan of Snoop Dogg. And then best score in music came after that. That went to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This was the only thing I think Final Fantasy won out of the 6 games. And I do want to mention, because at this point, I think I noticed Elden Ring's DLC didn't win anything here.
Nope.
It didn't win anything. And I kind of predicted that a little bit, that they were going to play it safe by not doing that. But all the other 5 games did win something. Elden Ring it went with nothing. But I think the trade-off is that they still got to release or got to announce that they're going to come with a new game. So everybody's winning a little bit. You know, I think people want the game more than they want the honors at this particular point if you're an Elden Ring fan. And then we get a quick look, very, very, very quick look at Sonic Racing Crossroads, which is going to be a new racing game for Sonic that comes out in 2025. Funny enough, that reminds me of, because I was diving into emulation a little bit. Sonic Racing, I believe PS2 game, GameCube game, those were some of the games that I was going to start showing retro footage for the channel. Because I realized, Double Dash is probably going to be a little risque, so I'm probably going to steer away from it for a while. But I thought that Sonic's racing would be fair game. And that reminded me of that when I saw this. So, yeah, you will see from me some footage from the PS2 game that came out. But how you feel about this one? Is this one something that you want to play?
Yeah, I'm going to check it out. Probably not like right away. I need it to be a little bit cheaper. I've always thought it was funny that Sonic had like a racing game where
he was like in a cart and everything. I think everybody says that, where they're just like all in carts and stuff.
Yep.
Because even though Sonic is supposed to be the most fastest, it's kind of understood that all the other characters are still fast, just not as fast.
So
and they're all in carts.
Fair, I guess, if they all have to drive instead. But I'm okay with it. Like, again, I'll wait till it's cheaper.
Yeah, and so they kind of threw it out very quickly. I thought they would at least like show them like go down the road a little bit on one board, but they didn't. And then this was followed up with a game that a lot of people are anticipating, and it looked very good to me. Very good story. Mafia: The Old Country. Did you write this down? Did this appeal to you?
Because I want to play the other Mafia games, and this one also looks great.
How you feel about how it was presented? Because that one guy, like, it was one guy in there who's like the guy running the show or whatever. He was very intimidating. Like, he kind of Like you felt it, like, yo, that's the dude. That's the dude you don't mess with. You know what I mean?
That's what Mafia's supposed to feel like.
Yeah, it was like really intimidating for real. I was like, man, I'm kind of scared, but I do want to play it. I'm kind of scared though. But we follow this up with I think this was the moment you were talking about. Belantro won Best Indie Game, which I think is, I know we just mentioned something. I don't know if it was Best Indie Direction, but they won that one, and then he was like, Belantro again. He kind of leaned to the left or the right.
Yeah, Belantro again.
Like, yeah, like, and he was just like, okay. He won the indie game, and then it followed up, and he won Best Mobile. Yeah. And then Best Audio Design, they gave that to Hellblade. So this was the one category here where it went against Logic, because I think there were other Game of the Year categories right here in this particular one, but they gave it to Hellblade 2. And so that was pretty cool. And then to me, I still argue that this is the true Game of the Year category, because this was Player's Choice, but they called it Player's Voice. And that was where the gamers get to vote. And Black Myth Wukong won this one. How you feel about that, man? This is the gamer's choice.
I figured it voted. I figured it would, and rightfully so. Everybody was a fan of it. It sold really well. People spoke highly of it. Rightfully so. Although, when we get to the actual Game of the Year, I called it. I was right. I said it was my personal Game of the Year, and I was right. So, hey, yeah, it can win Player's Choice.
Hey, but the real gamers out here, the real people voted. It wasn't no fake people out here, no journalists, I guess, from IGN or nothing. This was the Player's Choice. That's
comments I see online. They're backing. Some are backing Game of the Year.
Okay. So after this, we got to see Aaron from Breaking Bad. He goes out there with Laura Bailey, that we've seen from plenty. She's a big voice actress in video gaming. You see her in a lot of games. Yep. But Aaron, we know him. His biggest claim to fame came from the TV show Breaking Bad. If you have not seen it, definitely go watch. Did you know that they did a movie afterwards featuring Aaron? Yeah, he has a movie from, it's supposed to take place a few years after the events of the, actual show. And it's just him. Yeah. And it's just what happens to his character afterwards a little bit. But they did it in the form of a movie. Yeah. But yeah, both of them came out there. They had a little acting bit that they did, a little on-stage skit or whatever, and they announced a game called Dispatch that's supposed to come out in 2025. It just looked like an anime to me. Did this seem like a game to you? I didn't see how you would play it.
It's a narrative game. So it's one of the ones where basically you're watching cutscenes and then you get to pick certain dialogue options to make the story. It's a narrative-driven game.
Okay, because I was kind of confused. I'm like, this is just like a really anime-ish. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, and what you choose determines how the story goes. So you're mainly just kind of watching, and it's like a movie, interactive movie.
Yeah, so following this, we got Best Narrative, which I think somebody came on there and did all type of I don't know if somebody went on stage and had a whole speech about narrative first. I forgot. I don't think I wrote it down, but Best Narrative went to Metaphor Refantazio. Yeah. And I think this might have been the last game or the last award that Metaphor won, but Metaphor did win his fair share of games or awards. And here comes, I actually think I got this wrong. So we mentioned before Capcom was releasing a game. The game that we mentioned, let me look back real quick. Omnimusha, Way of the Sword. I think that one might actually be a new game and not this one. The next one was Okami. Did you see that Okami's sequel?
Okami 2, yeah.
Yeah, that was the one I think was coming from the PS2 game.
Well, Onimusha also did.
It also did? Okay.
Yeah, Onimusha's an old game.
Okay. Okay.
You play as an old samurai. It was like the first samurai game I've ever played.
So everything else that I was mentioning though, like when I was trying to find artwork and stuff, I think that was regarding this one though.
Okami.
So this was also from the PS2. And so when I was telling you about all the original people who created it coming back, that actually was this one. So yeah, but anybody who likes it, you don't have to go out of your way to break the bank. If you find an emulated version, you can just play that real quick and then just support this new game. They probably want you to support this anyway. And then right after that, one of the last things that they showed, this was called Pearl Abyss, which was a action fast-paced game that they said was going to come late 2025. They put emphasis on late. So we might actually see this get delayed to 2026, but Pearl Abyss was one of the other games. What you want to say?
Really quick, going back to Okami.
Okay.
I say that like when that game first came out, the first one, it did not sell well at all. It didn't get its powers until years later.
Yeah.
People actually checked it out, and then as you saw, it basically got like hyped up cheers, and even just said this is one of our best announcements coming in for the sequel. Just a little thing about these companies giving up on games a bit too early. Because Okami would have been one of those ones if it came out today, the first one.
Yeah.
Because no one played it. So, and I think it never reached sales expectations. But it had a cult following. But yeah, that one seems good too. But yeah, Onimusha is also an old Capcom story that started like 2001.
Now, this is the moment where we'll have a small discussion on it, because I would like to see your take. This is the moment where the internet came unglued.
Right before that, there was one more game. That was never announced, I don't think. But Killing Floor 3, I'm also excited for.
Okay. I don't think I wrote it down, but I do think I remember. Yeah.
All right, now we can get to this.
Okay, and then Jeff Keighley presents this as like, we got one more thing. He made it seem important. And they play the trailer, and eventually we see Naughty Dog's logo come up. But everything that was showing was like all space. So at some point it was just like, okay, it was definitely not Last of Us. Is probably and most definitely not Uncharted, right? So it's definitely going to be the new IP. And I think we've heard before that they were going to work on a new IP. And so sometime after this, I think was mentioned that they have been working, I think Jeff Keighley may have said this, they were working on this since 2020. So they're about 4 years into development, right? And they showed this game that I believe is called Intergalactic The Heroic Prophet?
The Heretic Prophet.
Heretic Prophet. Okay, I wrote that way wrong. Okay. Heretic Prophet. Interesting name. I'm not really sure what that all means yet. I'm pretty sure we'll learn more about it afterwards. And it probably is just pertaining to this new IP, new character, new
thing. If I had to guess, because she's a bounty hunter, and you're going to have to hunt down some dude who's like a false.
She definitely came off like a bounty hunter, and they had her, she's trying to hunt down some dude on a planet that apparently ain't nobody went to this planet for like 600 years because they're afraid of either this dude or whatever's going on the planet. And her, I don't know if it's a superior or somebody that she just works with, was trying to talk her out of it.
Her handle.
Yeah. And she's just like, it ain't nothing. And she's like, whatever. She got kind of a cocky type of feel and everything. Her personality, like, she's a little arrogant and stuff. And in my head, I knew this was going to rip the internet apart. But in the moment, it's just like, you're just kind of watching it, right?
Yep.
And as a game, I'm obviously going to want to give it a shot because of the gameplay and the detail that we know Naughty Dog puts into their games. And even though they did like one quick shot at the very end where she kind of like runs against the wall and throws down her sword against somebody, it wasn't much that we saw, but I was still interested. What were you gonna say?
It's a cool looking sword.
Yeah, it was still cool. I just knew I knew what people were gonna say. Whatever they were trying to say with The Witcher, because you know they were gonna try to go there a little bit. Yep. But it's like with The Witcher is like, okay, you're kind of pushing it, right? Here is like everything that they wanted to say, all the energy is like they got to say it. It's like this was where it all just kind of consolidated down to at this point, to the point where on the Naughty Dog's YouTube channel where they have the trailer up for this, is Dislike to Oblivion, obviously, but they also they remove the ability for you to like put comments. You cannot, they have comments turned off everywhere where they've shown this game. They have like 2 videos, and then on other platforms where you normally see game trailers, everywhere it's like downvoted. It's completely hated immediately. And it's only because of the girl, obviously, and the type of representation she probably has with the shaved head and everything. I ain't gonna hold you up. She like, I'm gonna keep it a buck. She do look ugly to me. She does.
So
she look ugly, but it's like
I don't mind her looking ugly.
Yeah.
She's a bounty hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you really want your hair pulled in a fight? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like.
Yeah, she's definitely not no cheerleader. She ain't gonna be no housewife. I don't know what people are expecting on that. I don't know. Maybe they thinking that they were probably looking for like, because Samus in Metroid is a bounty hunter, and then Zero Suit, she looks like a model, right? I don't know if that's what people are expecting here, but this is more realistic.
I mean, it's more what they want. Stellar Blade, even though they still would have called it out for having a woman.
Stellar Blade technically is one too, though. Now you think about it, but it's like okay, like
shaved head.
Yeah.
Probably like LGBT, like you can guess that because she has a shaved head.
Yeah.
Tall, she acts masculine, and
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like her personality a little bit. I was kind of cringed on it.
Bounty hunter, so bounty hunters are typically arrogant.
Yeah, it cringed me a little bit though.
I don't like her, but then turn around saying I like the character Lobo from DC.
Yeah,
he's extra arrogant, and it's just he's a guy. So
yeah. So, I mean, we're going to have to see more from this. It's kind of crazy that this was rejected as hard as it was immediately, because we didn't really get much to see. We don't really know how it will play. I really hope that it's not like playing like Last of Us and it's just a different setting. I would like to hope that they have, a different game. But yeah, it's widely rejected right now, which is kind of crazy in itself. But I don't know. It won't be a day one buy for me. I don't think. I need to see a lot more before I would say it would be a day one buy. But even if I don't like the story or direction, I do think I'm going to definitely play this game. Based on just the gameplay that I know from Naughty Dog, I don't think they're just going to put out a dud when it comes to the gameplay. People are saying that this is going to end up being the second Concord. So I even saw a tagline somebody had that was called "The Concord of Us," like The Last of Us.
Yeah.
But how do you feel? Do you think they're overreacting too soon, or what do you think?
Oh yeah. So I try to cipher through the crap and just kind of look for actual people. Opinions, like real people opinions. And there are some people who are just like, I don't trust a movie cinematic trailer. I need to see gameplay. I'm not getting hyped for this because we don't know. They said it's another Druckmann game pretending to be a movie. So
I've seen the Druckmann thing too.
So I feel like those are realistic, and then being turned off of it from the protagonist because like you don't like the attitude or things like that is very fair. I like the arrogant attitude, but
it was the specific spot where she drunk her juice or something with the straw, like that was a point where people just like thought it was just cringe. I thought it was cringe too. It was just kind of cringe, but I'm not gonna sit there and be like, that's gonna make me not play it at all. Yeah. Maybe it won't be a day one buy, but a lot of games are. It's just like what we were saying before. It's like you got other stuff that you're just playing, that you're more interested in. But
I mean, Naughty Dog does release quality games. It may not be everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
Right.
Now I will say this though. So. I will say this: if this game comes out and it's live service multiple transactions type game, it's gonna die fast. Yeah. It really will die fast. So hopefully they don't do that. But other than that, like just based off gameplay alone, I'm interested. I'm just waiting to see the gameplay just to validate Naughty Dog a little bit more. I will also mention though, I can see where the crowd is a little bit, where they're still saying, hey, all the protagonists going forward are just all chicks, because technically
yeah. So moreover, like, even though it does feel that way, let's keep in mind like that Game of Thrones game, right? Male protagonist. Like, I try to look at stuff like that where it's just like, there are a lot of male protagonists still in games. It's just not the like super highlighted 3 AAA games. Right? Like,
Mafia, I think, is male, right? When the Mafia
is definitely male.
Yeah.
Especially even with the time period it takes. Project Century is male. Omnimusha is male. And it's a male Asian guy samurai. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
You're complaining about Assassin's Creed, you like your game. Like, there's that. You get to choose your character for Borderlands 4. And then, like, but within that, it was like, this game, Split Fiction, and The Witcher are women. But because the two highlighted games are The Witcher 4, the opening show, and then
the end, basically.
The end, and like, those are the two big names, and everybody's like, those are both women, so everything's women.
Yeah.
Now, there is unfortunately a thing, and Witcher falls under that, where it seems like legacy characters are becoming just women, right? So it's like women are taking over franchises, like Ellie taking over Last of Us, Ciri taking over The Witcher.
But not only that caused people to turn against the MCU in a way. Yeah, because people don't like the next line of people at all. Like, they're not liking it.
Yeah, a lot of legacy characters are always going to women now, and it's just, some of them are natural, some of them feel forced. Like the Uncharted game, where it's like, we're just gonna do this with the 2 women now. That one felt a little forced, even though I haven't played 4 yet, so I could be wrong. Maybe it's not forced, but it did feel like they just pulled 2 of the characters. It was like, this is who we're going with.
But yeah, this was definitely a little bit more. It felt a little bit more forced than The Witcher for sure. The Witcher was straight, but this one did feel like, okay.
The handler could have been a guy. Like, it could have been a guy's voice with intercom, but it was a woman there, a woman.
I really, it's just the attitude of the first one. It just felt like it didn't match, and it was just like, you really, like, I don't know. I guess it's just like, yeah.
If it was an arrogant guy, no one would that guy. Really? Well, no, actually, that's not true, because that one game that came out, it's the first-person game where, like, you're in Russia and it had those robots everywhere. I cannot remember the name of it, but it was a first-person game that came out, and it was those 2 ballerina robots that got really popular. But, like, he was super arrogant, and everybody didn't like it because he was arrogant every time he spoke, and it turned people away from it. So, never mind. I mean, maybe people just don't like arrogant protagonists anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, a part of it is just, let's be honest though. Like, the major part is just based on how she looked, probably the lifestyle that might go along with that, just based on the stereotype. That's where the revolt is really coming from. And it's a little unfortunate because we didn't really give it a chance to see anything yet. But yeah, they've killed it before it even started, basically.
Where I sometimes laugh too, and it kind of messed up, is where it's like, people will say, don't change this character. If you want this type of protagonist, make your own. then they make their own, and then everybody's like, "Why'd you do this?"
Yeah. So we'll see. Naughty Dog has been notorious for putting out a game like literally right before the generation goes to the next generation.
Yeah, so then they a remaster.
Yeah, so
remaster.
You'll see this.
Remaster.
You'll see this at the very end of either 27 or 28. But yeah. Yep. Last thing that they showed was the actual game of the year, or the last category was the actual game of the year award that was given to Astrobot.
Yes, it was.
This time the dude.
The winner was Astrobot.
I honestly felt like it probably should have went to Metaphor more, but it is okay.
Final Fantasy, to be honest. But when he said it, I just started cheering because I didn't expect it at all. But I mean, the game has like
I did when we did that other award because it was like the exact same people, and I was just following logic.
But 96 rating, it was pure joy. The entire thing was fun. It came out fixed. They just released another update for like a Christmas level. All of their updates are always free. The only downside to the game is that it reminds you of all the IPs PlayStation could use that they just don't. That's really the downside of it. It's just like, oh yeah, Jack and Daxter. Oh yeah, this was a game. Oh yeah, this was a game, and it's just not used anymore. Outside of that, the game is just, it's pure fun. So I think, like, out of all fairness, like, there's nothing to get frustrated about from the game. It is a purely fun game that was put together well, worked right away. Final Fantasy is a remake. Elden Ring was DLC. So, like, this is good.
It is still the game that had the least sales out of all of them.
Well, I mean, because it's only on PlayStation.
No, I don't think it's because it's just on PlayStation. Like, quite literally, didn't nobody. Because so was Final Fantasy. It's just it took it like 2 months to get like to 2 million or something like that. So I thought it was gonna go because Metaphor and Black Myth did like 20 million, and Metaphor did it like right away.
Clearly, sales don't matter because Hogwarts.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, the bigger story here though was the guy who went on stage, because I thought this was a little interesting. So like it was a lot better paced this year compared to like Christopher Judge's year, that where the speeches were very, very just like quick. They didn't take too long. Even when some people had like more to say, it still didn't feel like it took too long. Like this was like the third time I think this guy went on stage. This time he was more teary-eyed, and he was like, I don't even know what to say. But he had this moment where he said he wanted to pay homage to Super Mario and platformers. He gave a shout out to platformers. He wants platformers to have more of a make a comeback basically. And I was kind of happy to hear that. But it got weird because he said he wanted to pay homage to Super Mario, but then he mentioned it was like from the company, but I can't say their name, and never actually said Nintendo.
Yeah.
And
you all know who I'm talking about, but
it was weird because it was like, well, why can't you say it? And why is Nintendo in that energy? Because that kind of gave me a bad taste for Nintendo a little bit. That part's not technically Nintendo's fault. But if the reason is because they're trying to sue everybody, that kind of like leaves a bad taste in my mouth a little bit for Nintendo.
Like maybe it could be like, we can't say our game is inspired by them because we didn't get permission. So then they're going to be like, you stole our idea. We're going to sue you.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? Because they still said Super Mario though. It was a weird thing. So I don't know if he slipped a tongue or just like it was just weird. But like that would be I would probably have some hatred for Nintendo if somehow, some way, they throw a lawsuit to Astrobot and they would base it off of this and start saying certain things. Because I know Astrobot has the little thing where he does the water glide the way Mario did in Sunshine and stuff. It would really, I don't think everybody would turn on Nintendo, but definitely PlayStation first fans would turn
Oh, for sure.
On them. I do want to mention because I kind of like glanced over and forgot about it when they mentioned Last of Us 2 going to PC. People also look like they didn't like that announcement either. Nope. Along with
and
this,
Final Fantasy.
Yeah, so there are some hardcore PlayStation fans who are not accepting this change. I thought we were done with it by this point, but people are downvoting stuff.
Complaining.
Yeah,
there's still people. Matter of fact, there's still a petition going around where people are trying to say to reverse it and to stop doing it.
I think The Last of Us. So that one, I think they said it was going to be on April 3rd, 2025. That particular one, I think, officially makes it the whole slate for a certain group of PlayStation fans. Yeah. It's quite literally Astrobot is the only thing that's not moving, unless the game was just trash. Like,
yeah, which it'll be weird. It would actually be weird if Astrobot moved over because the game is still a PlayStation love letter. So it'd be weird to be on PC.
But you know what? That's what was said about Little Big Planet and Ratchet and Clank. And so
you're right. But I feel
they did. Ratchet and Clank was worse because they was like, you need a PS5 to play it. That was the whole thing.
You're right.
So yeah, Astrobot's like the only one, and then I guess maybe the demo of it. The demo of it would be really crazy if they was to throw a demo over there. But I think this is technically the last bigger one because Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 is over there. All the Spider-Mans is going to be over there. The God of Wars, the Uncharted 4 and 5, I think. Yeah, Horizon 1 and 2, and then the Lego. And so, yeah, it is whole slate. I know people were saying the tagline whole slate. At least the PC fans were.
Well, they don't get Game of the Year.
They don't get Game of the Year. Didn't nobody buy it? Did nobody buy it?
I got the
least sales out of all 6.
I bought it, I played it, I platinumed it, and then I said it was my personal Game of the Year. And then when we said, well, what's going to win? I chuckled, and then I said Astrobot. I was trying to find the episode earlier, but I called it.
I think it was probably the one game that had the least bad things you could say about it. It was more wholesome. I can accept it if we're really going to say, because with Elden Ring in 2022, it's crazy that was 2022. That sparked a whole slew of Souls-likes. I mean, everything was a Souls-like. Everything is still a Souls-like. To the point where even Elden Ring is going to come out with another Souls-like. Or Souls game. If it's Elden Ring is Souls game. I'll be happy to see if we really do see platformers come back. Now, on the indie scene, you're going to find 1 billion of them on Steam that mimics the N64. But if we really see platformers come back from the major publishers, that would be cool. I don't know if this would have that big of an impact, but that would be cool to see because I still like it. I do think there's still an audience for it, and it shouldn't have died out the way that it did for like a whole generation. But yeah, platformers got a shout out. Super Mario, one of the earliest leading platformers, that got a shout out. And then the the company that shall not be named got no love this entire night except for this moment. They got no love. Final thing before we cut out, Game Awards next year. They gave the date December 11th, 2025. As of right now, I don't feel like there's a reason to skip it, so I will be coming back with more content around it at that time. It's a whole year from now. And hopefully we make the show a lot smaller because we definitely went where I didn't want it to go. 2 hours and about 45 minutes. So any last words before we cut out?
Go Astrobot.
Go Astrobot. The player's choice, the people, the real people. They bought and voted for Black Myth Wukong. Was that the matchup? Is that the real matchup this year? We didn't really call it a matchup before.
versus Astrobot.
Versus Astrobot. All right. Well, if you are a gamer, Belantro is on my screen again. Belantro is the one game I didn't understand why it was there to begin with. Now I will say my impressions of it did not make me addicted. I just kind of played it a little bit and was trying to figure it out. Will I play it again? Probably. I'll play it a couple times. I just wanted to play it for this show. I did buy it. I will play it a little bit more because I did buy it. But if you are a real gamer, every game that did not make the final cut and the final 6, you should wishlist or buy wishlist and buy and play at some point. Make it your business to play all of it within this generation if you can, because these are still all great games. They all have high respects amongst a lot of different communities, and they're there for a reason. Even the card game is there for a reason. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. I will catch y'all next week. Enjoy the Christmas season, holiday season, and yes, peace.